Okay, so Casual Dad here after a long hiatus to talk about X-Wing. Super quick, I forgot to mention this in my just brief chatter show notes. I am now based in Lisbon, Portugal, which has been absolutely terrific. Um, Up all night drinking coffee at all hours. It's spectacularly beautiful here. And standing invite, if you're ever in the Lisbon area, I would love to have you drop me a line, love to hang out, love to grab some coffee, play some X-Wing, just say hi anytime. And a shout out here to Conflux Games, also in Lisbon, that I've spoken with briefly recently. They got back to me really fast, and they went ahead and approved my request to put an X-Wing community group in their WhatsApp subgroups piece. And they've actually put me in touch with a couple local players too, which was really nice. Wasn't expecting that. And there are several other shops I've been reaching out to as well to go ahead and get in touch there. Still talking to Infinite Arenas, so expect some updates there soon as well. And of course, I've had poor MadKing wake up at 8 in the morning to chat with me. um, yeah, and we were just talking about that, where this is the same time that we would normally check in, but before it was lunchtime in Australia, and now it is
Hmm.
not quite crack of dawn, but early, kind of slightly uncivilized early. Um,
It's winter, so it's getting close to crack of dawn.
oh, okay. Ooh, yuck. That's right. We're about to get the
Yep,
hottest
Southern
part of the year
Hemisphere.
here, about to get the coldest part of the year there. All right.
Relatively cold for my part of Australia. If
Okay.
you consider cold like 25 degrees Celsius during the day.
I hope you'll keep
Whatever
quoting me
that
things
is.
in Celsius because I need to remember that conversion because nothing here is in Fahrenheit. And I'm just like, 20 sounds cold. Um, it's not. 20 is not cold.
77 for you
Yeah, for us Fahrenheit fools that made up a
during the
system that
day.
makes no sense. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. That's your winter temperature,
Yeah,
77?
during the day, yeah.
Okay. For me, still out of the conversion here, we were shivering a little bit for the first time at dinner tonight when it was six, I think was it 50? No way. It can't have gotten that low. Right now it is, yeah, it got 64 and windy, and we were like, oh my God, it's so cold. It's been like low 80s and breezy pretty much every day. It's just really beautiful outside of the very hottest peak of the day. But like even the middle of the night has been very comfortable. So shorts and t-shirts. Um, I have never walked up and down so many hills and lugged so many suitcases around in such a short span of time. There was one day where we lugged 7 suitcases and a cat and 2 children up and
Ooh,
down 5 flights of stairs 4 times because of the way it worked out. We
no,
had to move
thank
multiple
you.
times in that day, and that was brutal.
Hmm.
But we lived. But we lived. Okay, and yeah, to go ahead and jump into it, we're here to talk about the points update that just dropped this week. I think 2 days ago at this point. Um,
Yes.
yeah, awesome. Shout out to the X-Wing Alliance for still putting out a ton of releases. They put out a lot of news this week that I need to catch up on, fully digest and cover, which I will soon now that I'm getting back in the swing of doing my videos on my potato Chromebook. Um, Shout out to Ollie Pocknell, Greg Kashmanian, Liam Baker, and Catherine Nixera for giving us this patch notes and patch notes update. I've had multiple people, including myself and MadKing, talk about how much we love the patch notes. To have the notes with these updates to know a little bit more about what exactly is being done and why is a huge help. And we're only going to cover pilot points because they specifically call out that only one upgrade point was changed, and they're going to talk about that. So let's see. Another reminder
Yeah.
that X-Wing. Sorry, go ahead.
The update point's actually on the first page, so we don't have to go that far.
Yep, I should have read that far ahead. Just a quick flag: the X-Wing Alliance is a volunteer community group that does not claim ownership or affiliation in any capacity with Lucasfilm, Asmodee, or the X-Wing Miniatures game. So they're just keeping it going, but not profiting from or claiming to be any kind of official support. Um, but still, we are tremendously grateful to them, and we'll always shout out that disclaimer just so we don't get them in trouble. See, this update is meant for faction balance and to try and softly shake up the meta. You may see some unusual pilots gain loadout or reduction in points in an effort to make them a little more attractive in list building and give the player some more choices. There were some specific goals in this update. For example, get gauntlets off the shelf, which I love to see. The gauntlet is always a very weird ship. I felt like it didn't
Hmm.
really make too much of a splash and then was nerfed to hell and came back a little bit with XWA, but people both were out of the habit of flying them and then also just didn't really look at them again. So I appreciate seeing that buff. I know you've been flying them a bit, right, MadKing?
Yeah, I've
Yes.
always loved my gauntlets. When they came out, I bought two off the shelf. Flew double gauntlet when they first released, so when they were really oppressive with scum and villainy and lots of upgrade points on them, and I was promptly banned from flying them locally.
Well, you ran two.
I went on and yeah, I went on an absolute tear and went undefeated for 4 weeks, about 3 to 4 games a week.
Oh yeah, and it's such a cool ship. It's always been my favorite model. I
Hmm.
really wanted to see it in X-Wing, even though the scale makes no sense. I now regret that a little bit because the model's just really ungainly to fly, but it's still so cool. And
Oh
I,
yeah,
I
I've snapped the bases off both of them, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think I've only ever flown mine twice, and I'm a little nervous too now. And also, I still haven't opened my scary packed boxes of models, either Warhammer or X-Wing. So I have to go through, and I'm going to do that live. I'm going to do a video recording of like, did everything survive? Did anything survive? I think everything was fine, but we'll have to check that. But yeah, so get Gauntlets off the shelf. You'll notice they have all almost universally received buffs in every faction, which is awesome. Additionally, the drop seat bay upgrade has been made free to all gauntlets. I am a little bit concerned about that because one of the big things was the sheer amount of time and fiddliness of the Mandalorian Commando remotes. And I think that's still my concern about the ship. I really like the ships and love the pilots, and it's really cool to have them in the game. I don't think we need more remotes on the board, especially if you have like two gauntlets versus two gauntlets with the potential for just insane numbers of remotes fiddling around and mucking up the game. I am still worried about that. But getting extra loadout, getting the drop seat bay is kind of a necessary upgrade because the ship was built to have those extra slots. So I really am glad that that's on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's only dropped by 2 points, which I
Okay.
think with all of them getting universal point up loadout values by, I think every ship got well more than 2 points. I
Okay.
think the only one that might have been, I think the lowest was +4, and that's
Okay.
on Maul, which is understandable. You don't want to give Maul too much in his ship.
Yeah.
He
I mean,
already does a lot of work, even with just Lando and IG-88D. He just does a lot of work with that.
scum Maul because separatists don't have Maul in the gauntlet, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
Cool. Which is good. I mean, that makes sense thematically in terms of like timeline, but okay, so start with Rebels. Recent tournament data suggests that Rebels are a bit on the back burner right now, which is a surprise. Some slight buffs to the faction were called for. Luke Skywalker, Jake Farrell doesn't say which Luke, and Bodic Avenge headline pilots that were given buffs. Ooh, those all feel like pilots that don't usually come up as ones who need buffs. Okay. Additionally, several other pilots were given more loadout or reduced by a point with loadout commensurately adjusted. So we're seeing loadout drops for squad cost drops. For example, Nora Wexley will no longer be able to fit a proton torpedo in her Y-wing, sure, but she's been adjusted down to 4 points. Yeah, shoots 4 points with a proton torpedo. Yuck.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, some other pilots to keep an eye on are Ahsoka Tano in the A-wing, who wasn't she already dropped a point in the last points update?
Uh,
Was
yes,
she
but she's
5?
been nerfed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because she had
they
yeah
nerfed her.
yeah okay. And then the A-wing and Dash Rendar in the YT 2400. Okay, interesting. And I will say I did catch the latest cast from oh shoot, Sith Takers. So the Sith Takers podcast is the one they got recently talking about balance and running through a bunch of tournament results. I don't think I heard the same list or mix of factions twice in that entire conversation. It was all over the map,
Hmm.
and there really wasn't anything that jumped out as scary. So on the whole, I think XWA points has been really good. I'm glad they're still keeping an eye on stuff and balancing things out, but frankly, from their perspective, I would not know which mole to whack. So I'm impressed with them for
Yep.
having things to call out. Um,
Yeah. You keep
Empire.
reading. I have to go quickly
Oh
fix
yeah, of
something.
course. Okay, got to feed that cat, right? I'm sure the cat didn't have dinner. The cat told me. She's very sure. That's a joke because before we started on the call, I was assured the cat had had dinner. So Empire. Nothing says mixed bag quite like the Imperial faction. Their high-end tournament numbers are good, but in general the faction is struggling. It's sometimes a challenge when this is the case to find what needs adjusting. In this instance, we decided to take a a look at what ships have been ignored and see if we can't bring them into the limelight approach. One name that jumps to mind here is the Sith Takers called Captain Kagi, who's been one of my favorite Lambda pilots forever. So I was really happy to hear the name
Mm-hmm.
again, but I understand how incredibly obnoxious that ability can be for a lot of other things. So like an Alpha Strike list will just kind of fall flat against a Kagi list. But we'll see how that comes up. As such, we think the headliners of the faction buffs are Grand Inquisitor, sure, Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister. There's a theme there. It's all the same ship. Fifth and Seventh received
Yep.
loadout increases, while Grand was reduced by a point. Ooh. He doesn't have a lot of loadout, but with such a good ability now at 4 points, we didn't want him to also have access to prockets, which is also fair because that would be brutal. Um, yeah, yikes. Volt Scarus and Darth Vader in the Defender platform also received loadout increases, as well as a point decrease for Echo. Ooh, okay. Standard loadout, Echo, the Phantom. Ever wary of I-5 swarm tactics carriers used mainly with Scimitar 1. Both Juno and Merrick have been adjusted. Okay. Yeah, because swarm tactics can get pretty annoying. Um,
Yeah.
Commandant, yeah, Commandant Goran also received a nerf, losing 4 loadout. Okay. Interesting. So there's a lot of stuff going on there and a lot of moving parts that I'm fairly familiar with, but don't haven't seen the list to see how they've kind of shaken things up a little bit, like why those have been tweaked. All right. Republic, similar to the Empire, the Republic has been a mixed bag as far as results are concerned. Yeah, and since the big nerfs to arcs from both AMG and XWA, a lot of players stopped flying Republic at all, and we're just seeing a very different kind of
Yeah.
mishmash of stuff. There's been no consistent approach to the faction, so it's really hard to kind of tease out what's going on there. Um, this doesn't.
From what I'm seeing in a team league I'm playing is it's mostly Y-wing Anakin
Oh, sure.
with Republic mishmash.
Yeah, and an I6 force carrier, yeah, with a ton of loadout. Like Y-wing Anakin has always been a really scary piece. Has didn't see
Yeah.
a lot of play for a while with arc spam, but yeah, not surprised to see it come back. Similarly, but doesn't seem to be a ton of consensus about how the faction is doing overall. Yeah, I'm sure some people are getting eaten alive by Jedi, and some people are stomping all over Republic. Um, so we again took a let's see what the meta is and see what ships are not being used approach. And that, the last points change really hit Republic hard by changing the combination of talents and force slot, right? So
Yeah.
nearly all force users lost their talent slot, which was a really interesting
Every
change for
force user.
Republic. All of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every force pilot lost their talent.
For almost 4 years now, the ARC 170 has been the backbone of the Republic. We're hoping this adjustment will let some other ships and pilots shine. So I take that to mean that ARCs are still coming up a lot.
Most lists I'm seeing contain 1 or 2 arcs, but
Okay.
usually it is Siege of Coruscant arcs.
Okay.
So usually Siege of Coruscant Jag.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, which makes sense. We're not seeing as much Wolf. And I know Oddball was the one nerfed the hardest, so we're probably
Yeah.
seeing him the least. Okay.
Yeah, I have seen some Siege of Coruscant wolves, but I've seen Siege of Coruscant Jag the most.
Sure. Okay. That makes sense. Let's see. Anakin Skywalker has received buffs in both the Delta 7 Aether Sprite and Delta 7B Aether Sprite, as well as the N1. Ooh. In fact, many pilots in the 7B, that says D7 Aether Sprite, have been given buffs in hopes that they will make those ships more appealing. Both Anakin and Sae Tin were given points drops in the Delta 7B. Okay. Oh, yeah, Delta 7. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, which makes sense because it has always been really tricky to find a reason to take the non-7B Aether Sprites. It's a really weird chassis that I really like. You have both options for it, but they both have
Yeah,
different kinds of high risk, high reward, where the one is higher reward, higher risk, the other one is lower risk, lower reward. And it's always been just a strange balance.
correct.
Yeah, and I've always
Yeah.
felt like most
Most
of the,
people just take the yeah.
yeah, take
No,
the
go ahead.
X-Wing. Most people take the X-Wing version. But it does seem like the
No,
A-Wing
I'm
version,
mostly seeing the non-X-Wing. No, they usually take the
the
A-Wing version at the
D7.
moment.
Really?
So
Okay.
they're just taking the flight D7 just for the 3 dice evade.
Okay. And yeah, just super quick recap. It's
With
either
yeah,
7B has 3 attack dice, 2 evade, Delta 7 has 3 evade, 2 attack dice.
correct.
Yeah, okay. To support these ships and make sure their attacks land, Hound, Sicko, and Hawk, 3 lads. That's cool. were given loadout raises in the LAT gunship, and several Y-Wing pilots were also given loadout increases. Whenever I see the Republic Y-Wing, my first thoughts are Anakin, of course, and then R2. R2 never sees
Mhm.
competitive play, but having a Y-Wing that can take a crew slot always tickles me, so I'm most excited about that. But um, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the Republic, though. Oddball in the V-Wing was raised a point, but given enough loadout to claim a proton torpedo. A V-Wing with a proton torpedo. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And
Oddball was almost always a instant take at 3.
sure. So now he's a
Like you just stick him in.
4-point proton torpedo
Yes.
with buffs to
15
lats.
loadout he's got now.
Okay, in a faction that has
Yeah.
really easy access to share target locks.
Yeah.
I
It's going to
have
be pretty
concerns.
impressive. Yeah. Ordnance clones are back. Ordnance clones are back.
Which I like to see. Anything that pushes a clone meta that's not just arcs or not arcs at all, I really like. I don't like the Arc 170 as a
Yeah.
chassis. It's a brick that does everything and takes a long time to remove. Like from a sort of
hmm
mechanical standpoint in the game, it's exactly the kind of thing I don't like. It's like the Upsilon. It's just like it moves very slowly and shoots a lot, and that's it. Um,
hmm
yeah, yeah. Still, it's cool to have them in the game. I appreciate having them as like the option, but having them just gum up the middle of a board, nah, let's change it. But yeah, it sounds like it's being
Yeah.
changed. So on to Separatists. Side note, in my trimming down of being absolutely cutthroat about weight, my entire Separatist collection, actually maybe Separatist and Republic, stayed in the US and will be coming over later. I think I still have the ships, but the base cardboard and the pilot cards did not make the cut. So they'll be coming later. But here, unlike, and that's a bummer because I love how unique the faction is. So I wanted to bring them, but something had to go, and that was the one that I fly the least. So Separatists, unlike the others, it's clear that CIS are kings right now, which is a weird place to be in.
Yeah.
Champions of multiple tournaments and the largest win share in the NCX Draft League. Wow, win share. Dang. It's clear that this last year has been good to them. A large quotient of very reliable and efficient low-cost ships has seen to their rise. It was clear a shakeup was needed in the faction. Okay. General Grievous nerfed
Yeah.
again. First General Grievous has gone up to 5 points.
Yeah.
But 20 loadout, giving him the points to really spend. I think he's still worth 5 with a ton of loadout.
So he'll get access to Impervium, Outmaneuver, and the title.
Yep. So he gets
So
to
he
be.
is just going to become. He's back to his AMG shenanigans.
Scary Grievous. All right, cool. So they got rid of his cough. It's good. They gave him some NyQuil. That's an awful joke. Appreciate the laugh. Let's see. The fire sprays, including Boba Fett, Zam Wesell, and Jango Fett, all very challenging to fit into a list, were all recipients of loadout increases, while DGS 286, that's the crew carrier, right? Or is that the
Yeah.
coordinate one? That's the crew carrier? Okay.
It's the HMP crew, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was there's a hyena that can carry crew. And I always mix up. Is that 32? Oh, there it is. 32C.
That's
Yep.
touched on next, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So the HMP 286 went back to 4 points. Okay. Meaning there is no 3-point Kraken carrier in the HMP lineup. That was pretty nuts. A 3-point Kraken carrier was a lot.
I've flown against that, and it was gross to fly against.
Does not sound fun. It sounds really good, obviously, but it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
Or to play against, I suppose. It's cool to see that, but it's also sort of strange. I wouldn't expect Kraken from a fluff perspective to be rolling around in the absolute like Ford Pinto of a ship.
Mhm.
Yeah. So DBS 32C and the Hyena Bomber can fill the 3-point Kraken carrier. Okay, I spoke too soon. If you so choose with their modest loadout value bump. I really always liked 32C. Having a 3-point crew carrier, it's one of the only factions that can run a legitimate 3-point crew carrier at all, let alone one that's as well supported as the Separatist one is. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it's good to see 32C get a little bit of a bump. That's nice. I think actually somebody commented when I put up a post advertising that there was a points change, somebody dropped a comment saying, is DBS 32C back? And I certainly hope so. So that's really cool. 32C is certainly easier to deal with than the absolute wall of hit points you get from a Roomba. Yeah.
And the evasiveness of a Roomba too.
Yeah, being able to
just
side
because
slip.
of the
Yeah.
side slip. Yeah,
Yeah, the Roombas are really cool and really fun to fly. I hope they're still good. Personally, I would like to see them with just buckets of loadout and not necessarily cheaper chassis. Um, if
yeah,
you can load them up with some upgrades and toys, like give them a bomb, give them a cannon, and like let them be expensive, but let them be the power pieces they can be. I always like that better. And then fill with more 2-point vultures. Yeah, Cad Bane was reduced to 11 loadout to stop both prockets and sync lasers from being used. Wow, yeah, okay. While Dirge was knocked down to, was Dirge at 6 points? No.
he
Well,
was 4 points.
he was, oh, so he's bumped up. Okay, so he's nerfed from 4 to 5. Okay, with 16
Yeah,
loadout. So he's got extra loadout now. Um, this should lead to CIS players reimagining their lists and making some tougher choices in the coming weeks. That's a lot of pieces touched. I do like the mix of
yeah.
buffs and
So
nerfs. Go ahead.
yeah, their comment about the NCX Draft League holds true because I've got the individual stats hit, like looking at the individual stats, and 8 of the top 16 are CIS,
Okay.
with the lowest score being 6 wins, 0 losses. Everyone else has more wins.
Everyone else did better than 6-0.
Yeah, so the next lowest is 7-2.
And that was one of your only losses, right? Was against, and was that the NCX Draft League?
Was against CIS. Yep,
Was
was
against
against
CS?
Isothane.
Oh, Isofane. I mean, Isofane has to win. That's like royalty. He's got it,
It was a bare loss though. Like he
Yeah.
only beat me by a couple points.
I
So
think I think he used
decision or two
intimidation
either way
tactics
it
on
could
you.
have swung my way.
It was
I
full on CIS. A psychological terror campaign got you before the game even happened. So you went into that more nervous than you needed to, and then turned very thematic. All right, so then I think we
Yep.
only have the two final factions. Yep. So
Three.
three. Oh, yes, of course,
Scum
my
still
favorite.
exists.
Sorry. Scum didn't get any changes. Scum is perfect.
Scum got changes. It's just
Scum,
on the
yeah.
last page. We can skip that page if you want.
I am perfectly happy to skip Resistance in First Order because these factions scare the crap out of me and I don't understand them, but I
I'm
gotta
more than
cover it.
happy to read them if you want me to.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
So the Resistance received quite a few adjustments, all meant to bring the faction not only in line with the other faction's performance, but more in line with itself. Elo Atsi and Taman Wexley, Heroes of Hope pilots, both got buffs, while Merle Coben lost access to prockets. Septon Vanix, often overlooked at 3-2, went to 4-12, while Zari Bengal at 4-17 went to 3-5. The
412. That's a lot of
BTA
loadout.
NR2 Y-Wings, yeah, it's a lot of loadout. The BTA NR2 Y-Wings without the config, so that's wartime loadout, all got loadout boosts, so your Zoomy Y-Wings can be more effective, while Kazuda, Zeno, and Jarek Jaeger in the Fireballs were also buffed.
Nice.
Taka Jamaresa saw a sizable loadout increase, while Han Solo in the 1300 received a 3-point loadout reduction. Resistance is in a decent place currently, but as always, we're hoping that presenting more options to you will further diversify the types of lists we see being played.
Just to jump in on this, I've literally never seen the name Taka Jamarisa ever. Nowhere ever. I had no idea that was even a pilot.
Well, then it's really forming in line to have you start bringing ships that aren't really seen often.
There we go. Yeah, I do like that.
So
And then
Taka
Merle.
Jamarisa is a resistance transport.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't see the couch very much, and it's pretty much always the same two pilots, either the high end or the budget one. Um, okay.
Yeah.
So I must have seen that at some point, reading through the abilities of the ship years ago, and totally forgot. Um, okay, so if I'm reading that correctly, that's a nerf to Resistance Han. 3-point loadout
Yes.
deduction. Okay, and doesn't really highlight why specifically that was, but it makes sense. And I'm just got to rewind to Merle. Merle's the I-1 blocker, right?
Uh,
He's got some crazy pilot
I
ability where
think
if the opponent,
so.
go ahead.
While a friendly ship at 0-2 performs a primary attack, if you're in the defender's bullseye, the defender rolls 1 fewer defense dice.
That's right. So it's a ship you want to jam into people's faces already, and then giving him prockets both to make him scary, and then also just kind of as insurance in case you don't actually pull off your blocks. Yeah, you should not have
Yeah.
prockets. Okay,
Yeah. So only lost 1 loadout point, so from 6 to 5.
but It's an important one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. First order. Take it away.
The evacuation to car standard loadout pack has done wonders for the First Order. We're aiming to continue that momentum. Hollow has been given a loadout increase to 15, while Scorch, evacuation of Dakar, has been reduced to 3 points after receiving public feedback. The card didn't feel up to its 4-point billing. I've got some opinions on this we'll discuss. Most excitingly for First Order, Nightfall and Kylo Ren in the TIE Whisper both received big buffs. Agent Terex and Malorus in the Xi shuttle, or Z shuttle, probably Z, I think, also received buffs, hopefully making the support ships feel more worthwhile.
Hmm.
The First Order didn't receive the same amount of adjustment as other factions because we feel it's trending in the right direction right now and really didn't want to get in the way of that progress.
For First Order, I personally feel that their power level has always been the same, and it's mostly enthusiasm and the number of people that taking them competitively that changes their performance. I don't
Yeah.
have the numbers to back that up, but that's kind of where I'm at. So that they didn't get the most changes makes sense, especially after getting the evacuation of Dakar cards out, as much as those have actually been played. Yeah, it's a time to kind of stay and play with them. But the Hollow
Mhm.
I'm concerned about because the TIE Baron scares the bejesus out of me, and not so much Hollow, but still, I've played against Hollows that were just a total menace. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so the increase to loadout is interesting. And you said you had opinions about Scorch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think people were saying that Scorch in the TIFO for 4 points wasn't worth it because of all the other really good 4 points out there. So you've
Okay.
got Malorus, you've got um, Midnight, you've got all your TIFO bombers at 4 points as well.
Yeah.
So he kind of felt like he doesn't do much at 4 points. But when you look at it realistically, if everything goes right, you can have a 5 dice 3-point ship
It's Scorch. Yeah.
in Scorch, yeah, with his ability and because of determination. So 2 dice base, range 3, stress to roll a 4th dice, and determination to suffer a damage to add a focus result.
That's
So if
right.
you've got a
Yep.
focus, yeah, there's every chance you're rolling pretty much 5 hits on a 3-point ship. And
But you're
threat sensors gives him a free reroll of an evade result. Of a
sure.
focus result, sorry.
Right. So free,
When
but
defending.
unlikely to have a lock. You're more likely to have either a focus or lock, very unlikely to
Yeah.
have both. So there is that. And it is also at range 3, so
But
the defender gets the extra defense dice.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of ways to give him locks though, especially if you really want to lean into evacuation of Dakar and take Thanison.
True. Yeah. I'm curious to see how that performs. Because that was true before. And I mean, sure, at 4 points, you're just competing with so many other things in the slot. We can see if that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
I can see how it could. Um, yeah. But it is to get that to line up. You may not get the results reroll. I mean, I don't know the numbers on that. And then that you have to take a damage to get that. That could drop your shield. That could take you down to half points. Like I could see where that's an okay trade-off for this, where it could still be a 3-point ship,
Yeah, but
even in that situation. But yeah,
it's still a TIFO, so you go in, punch something really hard in the face, and then disappear for objectives for the rest of the game.
true. Yeah, that's one of the places where
So
FO is so strong as a
yeah,
faction. Yeah,
yeah. So 3-point, I get to punch you in the face really hard. If I die, I die, but I dealt 5 damage, possibly outright killing a ship with only 2 FOs. And
right.
then if he survived, then he disappears and claims objectives for the entire game. He's going to be, I think, an automatic staple in most FO lists now.
And
I
First
would
Order
not be
is,
surprised to see Scorch in every FO list.
oh yeah. Yeah, which I want to say Scorch was in every UFO list for a while. Like the custom one, some metas ago,
Yeah.
is it was that like 5 FO spam where they all threw extra dice. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see it.
And his custom is still 4 points.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. And yeah, we'll look at the points in a second. We've covered a lot of them, but I'm sure there are some changes that haven't been highlighted. I don't expect there to be a ton of changes to this one, but this is already quite a few that have been named, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right,
And
now the
last but not least, the best faction in the game, without argument,
ooh,
Scum and Villainy.
I see buffs
Uh,
immediately. So go ahead.
yep. So in that same top 16, the next highest represented faction is Scum
Oh, so it's separatist scum?
with Separatist Scum. So, but
Nice.
it's a massive reduction. It's only three Scum players is the next most popular faction in the top 16.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that is a big reduction.
Yeah. Yeah. CIS is absolutely claiming names at the moment.
Which I am
Uh,
glad CIS is getting that time in the sun because it's been a while.
yeah. Uh, then there was Scum and Villainy, also undeniably in a good place. With such variety of ships and lists, our job was more to highlight some ships we'd wish we see a little more. Manaru, along with the entire IG line, received a large loadout increase.
Nice.
Cad Bane has been reeled in for Scum as well to 11 loadout, thus denying sync lasers and prockets. Unka Platt received a slight buff because who doesn't love the tugboats? And the Mandalorian sees a point decrease with a commensurate loadout decrease.
And that's the ST-70?
Yes, so I was never, with all the really good and spicy 6 point ships out there, I was never going to take Mando at 7.
No. But that's the problem I always had with the ST-70 is it's a ship that doesn't work without crap tons of upgrades. So if you're going to
Yeah.
have ST-70s out there, it needs a lot of loadout. If that makes it too good, you can make it more expensive. But every time the ship gets nerfed, you see it get cheaper with less loadout, which doesn't fix the problem. Personally, I would like to see
Mm.
it stay at a relatively high points cost, but give that thing so much loadout you don't know what to do with it. Um,
Yeah, but I
that's
think I think everyone's scared of doing that because of how Scum was in AMG era when they had a metric ton of loadout and the loadout bloat was throw everything on it and see what sticks. There was a
yeah,
point where I was taking every ship had like 6 to 8 upgrade cards,
sure. But especially now that we've sprinkled
and
in
that
some
is just
standard
yeah,
loadouts, I could see that being less of a problem than it was before. But it's just like the Mandalorian and the SD-70 is not worth taking without loadout. Um, it's not,
definitely.
no matter what its squad cost is, if it doesn't have the loadout to work with, it's not a ship you want to fly. And that goes for the SD-70,
Yeah,
period. Every build I've ever had with that thing is hamstrung by loadout, no matter what. Um,
yeah.
yeah, and it's a cool model.
And then
It's
the
thematic.
SD-70 also,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
it also got a soft nerf
Ooh,
because XWA did clarify that with the Razor Crest title, you hide one of the illicit upgrades you paid for.
okay. That. Ugh. So that should have been paired with a loadout points increase to compensate for the cost of the.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an actual rules change. That's new. Okay.
Yeah. So they did clarify that because that was
Okay.
brought up. That was something that I never think got answered with AMG.
Yeah, they just kind of left it up to interpretation, and it was always just it's a free
Yeah.
upgrade, which
Yeah.
again thematically kind of
I
makes
could be,
sense.
I could be wrong that it was never clarified by AMG, but XWA has come forward and
Sure.
confirmed that the upgrade you put onto the title is an upgrade you pay for.
I want to say it was ruled
So
by
yeah,
a judge in an official event that it was free, and then that was just never challenged by AMG. Like they never revisited it.
yeah,
Whether that was an official ruling from them or not, that was the way it was played for years. So, okay, so that
hmm
triples down on my Mando needs upgrade points or
it's
needs
the
loadout.
wording on the actual card itself. During the systems phase, you may reveal one illicit upgrade and equip it as if it was equip that setup without paying its point cost.
There it is. Okay, so
So
they did
they've
actually
just
change the
removed
card
the
wording.
without
Got
paying it. Yeah, they
it.
changed it to remove the parentheses. You
Okay,
just hide what it is instead of taking 3 illicits.
yeah, which I get. I mean, at some point we were doing what, like a 5 point upgrade for free if you had your false transponder codes under
FTC,
there.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So that makes sense. And the IGs, Manaru and the IGs, those are all ships that really, really need their loadout. So I do appreciate seeing a loadout increase
yeah,
there. Manaru has had some moments in the meta, but mostly just because she was the cheapest she was very cheap, especially for the hull on that chassis. The ability is not great
Mm,
since the change from first edition to second edition. Um, and there's enough different pilots in the chassis now that people just don't really look at Manaroo as much. So I am curious to see if that
yeah.
changes, but there's also so much more to work with in Scum where Manaroo really shone when there were not other options. Um, yeah.
I'm gonna bring back triple U-boats.
It will never be what it
three
was.
five
You
point
got to rotate the turrets and the dial
three
sucks now.
3 5 point jump masters. You bet I'll fly that.
Without proton torpedoes. Because that was the thing, right? The
No,
guidance
they.
chips and proton torpedoes
Yeah,
were stupid back in the day.
yeah, yeah. God, oh, I forgot about guidance chips.
That was such an
I
awful
forgot that
upgrade.
was a
Oh
thing.
my God. Yeah, the 360 turrets, the free target locks, guidance chips. And they couldn't
Mm,
all take the. K4 was unique, right? Or was it generic? K4 security droid? Might have been generic. Jesus.
K4.
And that, just to rehash again, is
Let me
if you
double
do the
check.
easy maneuver, which back in the day was green, you get a free target lock. This is a crew upgrade that Scum had access to back in
Yeah,
the day. I
I want it back.
have a love and hate with that. I miss it a lot because Scum could really use
I
some
miss
extra
it.
target
Yeah,
locks, and their dials are worse, so it's not as good as it was. Make it expensive, whatever. But that
yeah,
upgrade,
and they needed it because this is before linked actions, but
yeah,
a lot of ships didn't want to be taking push the limit anyway.
right. I mean, but you had push the limit and K4, so you're just like, I got two actions and a free
Yeah,
target lock. What? And then you have guidance chips on there for free
yeah.
mods. You had, oh God, what a life. Okay, so that never again. Um, yes. So here we are. Let's go ahead and actually look at the list of the upgrades.
Mhm.
And so these should be marked with changes. We're not going to see a ton, so we'll see very few color changes. Let me see the first one. Hey, there we go. Okay. So this shows right here. Nora Wexley down 1 squad point, down 13 loadout. My God, what a nerf. Okay,
Yeah.
but she went down to 4 points. I get it. And the things that haven't been called out, Pop's Crail custom went up 2 loadout from 4 to 6.
Hmm.
See, and then Boudica went down to 4 again, 4 squad points. This being the Fang Fighter pilot that gets bonus
Fang fighter.
attacks if a wingmate is shot at. Um,
Yeah,
but
double tap Fang at 4 points is
yeah,
that's going to be
but
that's going to be
down to 5 loadouts,
common
you can
again.
you can do basically nothing with it. So you just have like a naked Fang with
Yeah,
either optics or Mando plating, not both. Um,
but Scum has been flying. Scum has been flying Fang fighters with no upgrade points for a while now, so
yeah,
it's
it's
about
go.
time the rebels have to deal with it too.
Yeah, okay. It's true. I am of the opinion that we need some loadout back, not necessarily more naked fangs, but whatever. That's the thing. But yeah, that cut from 16 loadout to 5, that's a big nerf. So Boudica sitting at 5
Yeah,
loadout is really low. It was 16. 16 is a lot on a fang. Jeebus, guys. Okay.
that's a whole lot on a Fang.
That's a lot. And then, so as mentioned, we've got
Yeah.
both Chopper and Ezra getting, and the Gauntlet getting loadout buffs. Chopper Gauntlet going from 15
Okay.
to 18 loadout. Wow.
Okay.
Um,
So there is a lower one than what Maul got.
yeah, there's a fair number. It's not
Okay.
a ton still, but yeah. So Ezra went from 10 loadout to 15, double force slot, a
Yeah.
Gauntlet with 15 loadout, and a free drop seat bay is certainly interesting. That's still on the
Yeah.
low side from the loadout for a bigger ship you can get. That's actually still not huge, which Ezra being the best
Hmm.
of the potentially most powerful, I should say, of the Rebel Gauntlet pilots. That makes sense. And
Yeah.
still sitting at
And
six
that
squad cost. That's a
and yeah.
budget. Yeah,
Yeah, and Rebels get the Knight Brother up title,
right,
so that is after you reveal a non-blue maneuver. If you're stressed, spend 2 recurring energy to gain a focus or a bait token.
right. And
So
Ezra loves
Ezra is
being
going to be
stressed,
sticking
so
around a lot longer.
yeah,
Yeah.
just good. I like to see that because Ezra is a cool character to have. When I was list building with the Rebel Gauntlet, I had so many reasons to take Chopper, and I still have those. I've wanted to take Ezra,
Hmm.
so it's cool to see him in there. I like that. We'll see. We'll see if
Yep.
he actually comes up at all. I think a lot of that is taste. There's so much competing in the 6 point slot or 6 points of squad cost with the Gauntlet and Rebels. I doubt we'll see a lot of Rebel Gauntlets. We'll probably see it in other factions more.
Yeah.
Okay, next we got Ahsoka A-Wing. Went from 5 down to 4
Mm-hmm.
squad cost again, but down from 16 loadout
Yeah.
to 5. I,
I think that's still an overall nerf.
oh, that's a massive nerf. Yeah, to go down that much loadout, like
Yeah.
she's still a 4-point A-Wing. She's really good. Going to what, I5 with, she has 3 force, right? I always forget that. I think she has 3 in this version. She has 2 in Republic. Um,
She's got 3 in this version. Yeah.
that feels like an over nerf. I could see going down squad cost and getting lower LV, but I think that 5 is too low.
Well,
I guess that
she's
6
still
should get
she's
prockets.
yeah. She's still a 4-point coordinator.
Right.
I5 coordinator.
But that just paints a massive target on her back. And if you lose her, it's still a 4-point A-Wing. That's fairly easy to take down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's a tough ship to balance where you don't want to make her too cheap, but you also like you don't want to make her too good, but don't want to make her too bad. What I would do here is I would give her more loadout and take out the missile slot. Because the sitting at 5 on a missile slot ship, I assume, is just to prevent prockets. But she's got double force.
I would believe so, yeah.
Yeah, she's got double force points or double force upgrades, which to me thinks it encourages her to use those force for something other than coordinate. And then she's got double mods, and you're never going to do anything with that at 5 loadout. I don't see using more than one of those 4 slots for basically anything at 5 points, but I could be wrong. That's, yeah. Anyway, Jake Farrell in the A-Wing. Yeah, okay, so there is a standard loadout. This is the customizable one going up 4 loadout from 8 to 12, still sitting at 4 squad points. It's funny to see that because Jake was a staple of Rebels for a long time, way back when he was released with the A-Wing. You saw Jake everywhere, and now less, but still good.
I think he'll make a comeback with that.
Yeah,
His ability is great. Jake,
and
I think an 8-point core of Jake Farrell, Ahsoka Tano is going to probably start being more because I know some Rebel pilots were still bringing double A-Wings.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jake Farrell, Ahsoka Tano as an 8-point core for big coordinating lists, like big assistance lists,
Sure.
passing tokens around. But you've got all these other A-Wings. You've got a bunch of X-Wings at 4 points now as well. It's a lot of competing to see who does what at 4 points.
Sure.
So there's a lot of expression.
I still like flying 3 A-Wings, but who's asking me?
Yeah.
And then Shara Bay we see still at 4 squad points, but going up 5 from 12 to 17 loadout. And all of these ones, there's obviously no concern about prockets. So both Jake and Shara can comfortably grab prockets and then a lot of other upgrades, with Jake having the double talent. Yeah, God, prockets and 2 talents, that's a gnarly little ship, Jake.
6 dice prockets are scary on Shara.
Oh, true.
If you can find a way to have a target locked focused, it's very scary.
It's Rebels. You can find a way to have every mod imaginable. Rebels are insane. So yeah, Shara Ahsoka is also another scary combo here. Yeah, throw in Hera with swarm tactics, drop Shara up to an I6, and then party on.
Could just spend Shara's lock on the target if you get. You can't then use your lock to re-roll, but you don't need to if you've rolled 5 dice and you roll 3 hits and 2 focuses. You just spend your target lock and get 6 hits.
Right. And yeah, and you know at I6 you know whether or not to spend that. So that's
She's I4, yeah.
Right, but if you swarm tactics with Hera, she'll be up to an I6.
True, yep.
And that gives you reasonable chances to remove stuff. And with an A-Wing, you can get places where you'll be able to remove key targets before, like you can initiative kill stuff really easily with that. So, okay. Yeah. And then we've got custom bigs in the T65 going up 5, loadout doubled from 5 to 10. Sure. I also, it's funny to see this because this is like a who's who of the really old classic pilots where bigs used to be a staple of Rebel lists, and now I barely ever see him. So it's good to see him get a buff. And then we've got custom
big shield upgrade.
Shield upgrade bigs. Oh, he can do it now, can't he?
Yeah. Yeah, 10 points.
Yeah, still no proton torpedoes, so why not?
No, still no proton torpedoes, but it makes bigs what bigs does even better.
Sure.
Now he's got another use of his ability.
Yeah. And then we're seeing custom Luke go from 5 to 7 loadout value, still sitting at 5 points. That's another tricky one where he's now significantly cheaper than the standard loadout. I mean, 1 squad point cheaper than the standard loadout. But at 7 loadout, that's not even
Mhm.
enough for R2, is it? Because I think of R2 as being 8.
Uh,
I think in XWA might be less.
yeah. R2D2 is 8 points.
Okay.
No, R2D2 is 10 points. R2 Astromech is 8 points. So you still
Okay.
can't get R2 in general.
This is one of those cases
But you can take
where,
plasmas now.
yeah, but this is one of those cases where I personally, just for the sake of it, along with generics, pushing
Pay the
fluff a
extra
little
point.
bit,
Yeah.
yeah, like give Luke,
Yeah.
custom Luke, enough points to run R2D2. Even if it's bad, it's not a super powerful thing. That gives him enough for a
Even if
shield
it's
upgrade.
just,
Like,
yeah, it keeps him from taking proton torps. It gives him access to advanced proton torps, which is, I think, what they might be worried about.
okay, I can see that.
If you give him R2D2, if you give him 10 loadout to give him R2D2, it gives him access to advanced proton torps, which
Is that
X-Wings, especially Luke, like having that of it. It's very easy to double mod
true? Because all you need
advanced
is the
proton
lock.
torps with Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then because he's got Force, it's even easier to soft double mod them.
But if you're comparing
Sure, he
that,
doesn't want to be at range 1. Yeah, he doesn't want to be at range 1, but if
right?
he is, it's very easy to get him there to have him throw a big dice.
Yeah, but that still feels like the risk reward case where that's okay
Oh yeah,
to enable the chance for people to run Luke with R2. Like that's just, yeah, if you make him a little bit stronger because of that, I'm kind of fine with it. Personally, I think the
yeah,
scariest thing about that is the shield upgrade because with his defensive ability with an extra shield, it could make him a really big tar pit. But if the
yeah.
point is to encourage people to take Luke at 5, I don't think this is going to do it.
No, I
Yeah.
think yeah. If you push him up to 8 points for generic R2, that'll be fine. But if you
Eh,
push him up to 10 for R2D2 for the third charge, then you run into the advanced proton torp issue. But
sure.
again, that's really
So the solution clearly is to bring R2D2 down to 8.
I don't know about that one.
I mean, he's pipped at least, so that would still enable some level
Yeah,
of R2 Astromech spam, but
I think R2 Astromech at 8 points is kind of where it needs to be at the moment.
sure. So you could make R2D2 9, give Luke 9 loadout, and then you avoid some of the worst abuses while enabling the really like
Yeah, so
fluffy hobbyist
you have to
Luke
choose
R2.
it. You have to choose R2D2 or advanced proton torpedoes.
Right. Yeah, at least. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah. And I mean, advanced proton torpedoes, is that really more dangerous than the standard loadout Luke with proton torpedoes? I personally think no. Um,
No, I don't think so either.
yeah.
But you know, some people are going to make it work.
Right. Which, I mean,
And
rebels are in the back burner, right? So this is the time to do it.
advanced proton torpedoes, Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles battle over Endor, which also has advanced proton torpedoes, is a bit scary.
And that's going to be really dangerous for some lists, and it's going to come up. But like, you throw a jam in there, you have a way to remove locks. Like Captain Kagi eliminates that completely. You have a spam
Oh yeah,
list.
no,
You have fast lists that can control the space. You have things that can tractor them. Like, there's stuff out there to counter that, and I am kind of fine with that. Like, I really love standard loadout Wedge because of how he really is a standalone piece that can make advanced proton torpedoes work, but it's such a gamble if you miss that shot. And I brought him to Worlds.
yeah,
I felt that several times where I messed it up. Obviously, a really powerful piece, but I kind of love that there's that, like, you have this threat, but you have to do something very dangerous to do it, and sometimes it's not going to work. Um,
mm-hmm.
yeah, and that inconsistency makes it not really a threat in competitive play to some degree, but then also just makes it a really exciting and fun way to play. So that's, I would enable that, but that's, I'm not on the points team.
Yeah,
That's I probably would unlock
nope.
something horrible.
We're not. Our opinions are too polarizing. So let us be on the points team. If we had our way, there would be too many things going wrong very quickly. There would never be consensus.
We'll cancel out. Luke, custom Luke at 0 loadout.
Yeah. Every committee meeting there'd be, I'll be like, all right, it's time to bring back a tiny mind link, guys. Every single meeting.
No. I'm okay. with the way actions are limited now, it wouldn't be as bad as it was, but it still would be bad.
No, I as I said, we've discussed it in a previous video on how I would fix it.
No, yeah,
So
yeah, and it makes sense. And it's one of those things
yeah,
where we don't need to go down that rabbit hole again. We can cover that later.
no,
Okay,
yeah.
and then we've got the U-wing. There's another one that wasn't flagged. We've got K2SO pilot going up from 4 to 6 loadout value.
Hmm.
This is another case where the
I like it.
U-wing, I like it, but the U-wing is not a ship you fly without upgrades. 6 loadout value
Yeah,
is not
but
enough to do much of
it's
anything on this ship.
um
He is the 4 cost, so but he's Bodhi. He and Bodhi both are 4 points. That gives him the same loadout value as Bodhi, but I, mm, it's not a very
it
exciting
gives him
ship.
access to Magva, it gives him access to
Okay,
Nian Num, it gives him access to Sabine Wren crew.
but only those and nothing else, right? Because if you
Yeah,
use the full 6, that's all you get, and I mean that's fine, and that's like something you can do for specific needs. But you're not going to take a U-wing just for that.
yeah, but you can, because I don't ever see him not coordinating every single turn just so he gets a
Sure,
free calc.
true.
But like you can take two, you can have up to 2 crew members on that thing now. So a lot
Does
like
does that open
yeah,
up Leia
and he's still
crew?
got access. No, it doesn't.
Okay, so looking for like
Mm-mm.
those mass board control
Layer is
upgrades.
7, so it stopped.
Okay,
It stopped him from getting layer. So they
okay.
pushed it high enough to give him some more play, but not enough to staple layer onto him and have him sitting in your backfield coordinating the entire game.
And this is a case where, with those specific upgrade slots, I could see where every single point of loadout you add to one of these ships dramatically increases the level of stuff that could really
Efficacy.
mess up the
Yeah.
game. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense, but I still probably see the other U-wings being flown more. But a 4-point U-wing is not nothing.
No, no, a 4-point U-wing is still a 4-point coordinator that's 3 attack, 2 evade, 5 hull, 3 shield. That's coordinating, calculating every round.
True.
That's kind of good.
It's good. But then why is he getting buffed? Because no one's playing him or he hasn't been making a splash, so it's good.
Because I think it's because the 4 loadout value was a bit limiting,
Sure.
because if you wanted to take fire control system, you'd only have access to 5 crew members, which Chopper, Zeb, Lando, Novice Tech, or Tristan Wren. You're not really taking too many of those.
Sure.
So putting him up to 4 means you can take a 4-point you could take a 4-point crew like Harrison Dula,
True.
which is
And
really
then,
good. So you can
yeah,
just constantly, you can just keep just hitting the stop button.
for a while.
Bo-Katan Kryze, yeah, she's okay, but having access to the 3-point crews as well as another crew member or even fire control system is pretty good.
Yep. So you can do the four
He's
cost.
not he's not game breaking. He's still, I think he's gonna find a bit more of a niche sitting there and helping pay out for his coordinating all the time. Which is just what Rebels needs, another cheap coordinator.
Right. Yeah. I mean, with it, yeah. So this is they brought Ahsoka down to the point where she could compete in the 4-point coordinator slot. So they had to give K2SO something to keep him kind of relevant in that space.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. The zero
And it
stop kind
brought
of
him
helps.
up in line with it brought him up in line with Bodhi as well.
Right. Yeah. So this feels like one where he was probably the least flown. Was he the least flown U-wing, or was this just kind of to keep him in line with
I
the
would
others?
outside generics probably.
Okay.
But I think it's in line to bring him up to Bodhi, and it's also to have him be a bit more competitive with other 4-point coordinators as well.
Sure. I gotta say, this is the first time I've genuinely looked at the Partisan Renegade. It's 5 cost, but 22 loadout and an illicit slot on a U-wing certainly has some interesting utility
Yeah.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you want the sensor, you can pay the same amount for Blue Squadron Scout and get a sensor instead.
True. Hmm. One thing that I love about Rebels that always I really wish I had in other factions. I know I bring this up all the time, but Saw crew, Saw Gerrera crew. When you have the
He's
loadout
so
and the
good.
crew slot to throw it in there with a lot of hit points, like do it. Which
Yeah.
segues to our next point. We're talking about the VCX. Callus in a VCX with Saw crew. Callus gives it an actual evade die. Like that's super good, where you get a lot of defense and a passive offensive mod on a chassis that just takes forever to remove already. Um,
Hmm.
but we're talking about Chopper, who went up 2 loadout from 12 to 14 with 3 crew slots, just
Yep.
like Callus. Yeah, God, wow, okay. But Saw crew is 8 points, or is he 10 points now? I'm used to thinking of him at 8, but that was old points. I think even pre
He's
XWA
6
points.
points, 10 loadout.
Oh
Yeah.
my, no, the Saw crew.
Oh, Saw Crew. He's 9 points.
He's not okay. So you could put him on Callus, but then that's really it. But still, that's probably
Yeah.
worth it. um, yeah, okay. And then they did make sure to mention that we should watch out for Dash Rendar, the custom Dash Rendar in Rebels, and he went from 12
Mm.
loadout to 20. So a very frightening Dash is back on the table. Another contender for
Yeah.
Saw Crew, throwing those 4 native dice. Um, yeah, yikes. Doesn't
Yeah.
have
I
a
really I still wake up in night sweats with some dirty things that Dash Render has done to me.
I mean, it's been a while. You
I've
haven't
been
really seen Dash make a
I've
splash,
been
but
knocked off top. I've been knocked off top table too many times by one player where I live locally flying Dash Render.
it's yeah, it's always one of those where I look at that and I'm like, it throws 4 dice at range 3 on a bow tie turret. That scares the crap out of me, and it never really
Hmm.
seems to land, but it could. Um,
Yeah.
Especially with the potential for a double tap, which I don't think that has the slots to double tap because it doesn't have a gunner. But still,
No. Yeah.
gnarly piece. But yeah, all right.
Yeah. But yeah, most if you want to fly Saw, then you can't fly um Perceptive
Dash.
Co-Pilot.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
But
got to choose, and
you
because
take Saw and
if
focus
you're flying,
anyway. Yeah, no, that's true.
yeah, I know, but most people taking Perco will fly Jinna, so somewhere in the list to give
Oh,
Dash focus evade every round.
ugh, nasty. And he's already got the 2 evade native. Yeah. All right. So we
Yeah.
gotta up it a little bit because we've only just gotten Empire, and that's only the second faction. All right, Captain
Oh yeah.
Hark. We got the gauntlets. Captain Hark going from 14 to 20
14 to
loadout, which is
yep.
significant. Then we got Gar Saxon going up from 19 to 24 loadout. And here we got the generic going from 10 to 20 loadout as well. So you've got 2 6 point options in the Imperial Gauntlet with a lot of loadout. And
Yeah.
Hark especially is interesting because he's the side slipping gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
I rarely ever see him
Gar?
listed, and excuse me, Hark,
No,
right?
Gar is
Hark is
Harkers,
the,
yep.
yeah, yeah, Captain Hark. It's funny though, because Captain Hark crew is also just very frightening, and makes sense on a gauntlet as a crew piece too. But I expect those will maybe see some more play. One thing that you
Yeah,
don't see
but
a ton in the Empire
if,
is big chunky ships. You see the Decimator a little bit, but that's more or less it.
yeah. Yeah, no, Gar Saxon can take both Grand Inquisitor and Palpatine.
Oh, yikes. Okay. Already Angar is a pretty scary pilot too. All right. Okay.
Yep, so Palpatine twice in a turn is kind of nasty.
Ooh, I've wondered
In a
if
ship
they.
that's native, in a ship that's natively as tanky as a gauntlet is pretty scary.
That's pretty good. All right, then
Yeah,
we got Fifth Brother +2 loadout from 8 to 10. Grand Inquisitor down from 5 squad points to 4. Down 3 loadout to, oh, excuse me, down 8 loadout to 5.
8.
Yikes.
Yep,
Which they mentioned he can't take
yep,
Prockets
but
anymore.
yeah,
Yeah,
they don't want him having prockets. Yeah,
yeah. Seventh Sister going up 2 from 9 to 11. There's a lot you can do with that loadout,
yep.
especially with the double force on there. So, yeah, it's
Oh yeah,
Seventh Sister not being a totally unreasonable take for Patience.
No.
Okay, so this is a couple that weren't shouted out. We've got the TIE Advanced, the X one, not the V one. We've got Juno Eclipse going up one from 4 squad value to
Mm,
5. That's interesting. But then going up
yeah. So
9 loadout from, what was that, 9 to 18? So double loadout?
yeah. So the dual tie advance archetype is dead.
Okay, but
Because there are I know quite a few people, myself included, who were flying Juno and Marek in double tie advance for 8 points.
yeah, and so okay, so even if you did Grand Inquisitor Juno, it'd still be 9. But you could do
Mm.
American Grand Inquisitor now, and that would be a somewhat variant. Um, no, I'm sorry, not Juno, Merrick. You could fly Merrick and Grand Inquisitor for 8. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big nerf on both sides there. If it was Juno and Merrick, you've got a loadout cut to Merrick from 8 to 6, and then also the squad cost increase to
Mm.
Juno. Yeah,
Yeah. So it used to be Juno and Marek has double advances with 9 and 8 loadout respectively, but you could still do a lot with 9 and 8 loadout respectively as well in those advanced X1s.
yeah. I'm looking. This is one of those cases where I'm looking at Juno. I'm looking at the loadout value, and then also looking at the upgrade slots, and I'm like, what do you even do with 18 points with
Yeah.
those 4 slots? I mean, a really expensive talent and a really expensive missile, I guess, or a shield
Um
upgrade and a missile.
Outmaneuver,
Ooh, yeah,
fire control system. If you
because
don't want to take if you don't want to take a mod, that's fine. But if you
yeah,
drop outmaneuver, she can get shield or hull upgrade
right. And Hull is cheaper,
because
yeah,
she's automatic. She's basic.
yeah,
Yeah, she's basically already got a built-in. You can give her afterburners as well if you don't want to take the red. If you don't want to take the red boost.
sure,
So fire control system, afterburners, and she still can take swarm tactics for that I5 bump.
sure. Who's the?
Um,
There's at least one crew, maybe a pilot. I'm trying to remember what Hark does. I think Captain Hark and Sienna Ree and oh God, is it Moff Tarkin? There are a lot of
as
ways you can.
crew.
Yeah, those are all crew options, and I think Hark pilot maybe.
Uh,
I'm trying to think because there are a lot of ways where you can give your entire squad access to boost and some maneuver options, so you don't need to take afterburners on a X1 every time.
yeah.
You can do something like that and then free up the loadout to do
So
whatever you want.
yeah. So Tarkin gives every ship a lock.
Okay. Wait,
Um,
you sure that's not V-Wing Tarkin?
Grand Moff Tarkin in as a crew member.
Oh, okay. I'm mixing it. Oh, no, oh shoot, what's his name? I gotta look this up. Oh, he's one of the ones from the New Hope. Man, I know this. Gatsby. I gotta pull this up. Sorry. Sorry.
No, that's all good. While you do that, I'll keep going.
Yeah, yeah,
So
go ahead.
further down, as just Doc, Darth Vader in the Defender went up to 8 loadout. So just stopping short, like he can't get outmaneuver anyway, but
Right.
just stopping short of some really nice 9 point breakpoints in the Defender. And Volt Scaris, sorry, we need to get those names right, in the Defender also went up to 18 points. So um really weird way of uh really weird ability. 1 energy depleting every turn. As an action, gain 1 strain token to recover 1 energy.
Oh, okay.
And then before you engage, you may spend 1 energy to perform an action.
That's Volscaris.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of ways for him to really get double actions because of it, but full throttle, you still get an evade. And I5 means you can kind of be cautious. If you win road, if you win road, you take the action, so then you get the I5 action before you engage after they've moved, so you can take a target lock or a focus or whatever you want to do. Barrel roll
Gotcha.
or boost out of arcs as well is an option. But pushing him up to 18, I think he's firmly always going to have outmaneuver now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And then still um, lots of other things you can do with them as well. I don't fly defenders that often, but yeah, outmaneuver, HLC is kind of nutty. Uh, if you really want to take TIE Defender Elite, that's another way, but TIE Defender Elite, I kind of prefer the full throttle over the um, perform bonus attacks after a cannon attack.
Yeah, that just hurts the dial too much. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, because the full throttle
it
really
really
gives that.
does.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
it decreases it decreases the difficulty of your turn maneuvers, so you gain you gain all your white hearts in turn for losing the 4 white K turn.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the auto evade is just too good on defenders.
Yeah. Plus the white K turn is just that's why you take a defender. I mean, not really,
Yeah,
but it kind of is. Okay, so the two
yeah.
crew options that I was thinking about, if you're taking a tie advance with a bunch of loadout and you don't want to spend points on the afterburners, find room in your list for Moff Jerjerrod. And if I recall correctly, he is one of the main people who shows up early on
On
in New Hope, but he's got the two charges recurring.
what's
He's an
he in?
8 point crew. Um,
Oh, crew.
During the
Yeah.
system phase, you may spend two charges. If you do, choose the one bank or one straight, either direction of the one bank. Each friendly ship may perform a red boost action using that template. So it's a system phase boost, but it can be to every single ship in your entire squad, and you can do it every other turn.
Yeah,
Um,
Jedrod, that's
Really freaking good if you have things like TIE Advance that don't have the boost action natively, and you want to give it to them without using up their loadout on the
auto thrusters.
afterburners. Yeah.
That's it, afterburners.
And then the other one I really like is Sienna Ree, also crew. She's only 4 points, but she's after you perform a
Yeah.
coordinate action. If the ship you coordinated performed a barrel roll or a boost, it may gain one stress token to rotate 90 degrees, which allows you to reposition your tie advanced in an insane way to let them. And for 4 points
Oh
too,
yeah.
if you're already coordinating, it's just like you barrel roll and then flip that sucker 90 degrees. Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really good. So if you want the mobility options and don't want to spend the loadout, those two are like my top picks. Captain
Oh yeah,
Hark
no,
doesn't.
definitely.
Yeah. Actually, hang on. I got to check one more
Yep.
thing. Captain Hark pilot. But while we're talking about that, if you wanted to go ahead and jump on Redline, the Punisher.
Yeah. So big beefy bomb boys. So up to 26 from 20. Can maintain up to 2 locks. After you perform an action, you may acquire a lock. So boost target lock, get a second target lock is kind of good. Has a gunner, so take your pick. Weapon systems offerer, um, Tiber Saxon, suppressive gunner,
Oh,
fifth brother even.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Fifth brother gunner is kind of good.
I want to
Um,
say I could imagine one of and I mean a lot of
skilled
these are.
bombardier, yes,
Go
skilled
ahead.
bombardier if you're taking a bunch of payload, if you plan on using payloads as well, which at 26 loadout,
You
and
probably are.
if I've paid six, yeah, if I paid 6 points for a TIE Punisher with 26 loadout, I'm taking payload.
Yeah, but I mean that's why you take Death Rain. Um, yeah, so I
Yeah,
do. That does let him actually compete with Death Rain, being the more expensive of the two. Having more loadout makes sense. Um, yeah,
yeah, but you could just take electrochaff missiles and your choice of other ordnance as well.
true. Oh,
So you
chaff
can't get
missiles.
barrage rockets, you can't get multi-missile pods, but you can get um what yeah, barrage rockets is kind of the one you want to
Sure.
maybe put points into, but especially because you can focus target lock and really make your Barrage rockets really hurt.
Yeah.
But then electro chaff, cluster missiles. You've still got a torpedo in there as well. Given plasma torps, that's 24 out of 26 points, and fire control system. That's 26 points for plasma cluster electro chaff.
Which is, yeah, gnarly. And I mean, it's a 6 point ship though, so that there is a consideration there, and it's also
Yeah.
not
Oh,
hard to burn down.
yeah.
But yeah, a lot of utility in that.
Yeah. And then
Uh,
if you still don't want electro chaff, you can easily change. You can take off electro chaff, put in a bomb of your choice. Of proxy mines is also an option that is in there.
yeah,
If you want a gunner of some kind, as I said, you've got options. Weapon system, type of Saxon. Fifth brother, lots of options. I don't think he'll be seeing a lot of play because I've never seen a Punisher like ever.
I haven't seen one
But
since I want to say I did see some in second edition. I might have flown some in early second edition, but not since 2.5, which they weren't even in
yeah,
2.5, so that makes
but
sense. But
he had less loadout than Death Rain, which is a point lower. So
yeah,
it's bringing him up in line with their point philosophy of if you're paying more if you're paying more for the ship, you should have more loadout when it's
yeah,
reasonable.
unless it's
And I
a
think
bad combo.
which I think this is a reasonable point adjustment that puts him in line with their point philosophy.
Yeah, I don't see any single broken combo with that, and it kind of makes sense. I could see Death Rain just being so much
Yeah.
more of a go-to pick that giving Redline a
Mm-hmm.
buff, yeah, makes sense. On the flip
Yeah.
side, we've got Commandant Goran. God, there's so many Imperial ships. Commandant Goran in the
Yeah.
Tyrannus Scepter, losing 4 loadout, going from 9 to 5. Um, we haven't seen any slot changes yet. It's just been loadout and squad points, but it makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's all just loadout and points. Yeah.
It's funny, as I was packing up, I love TIE Interceptors. I really, really want to do 5 4 point standard loadout TIE Interceptors and just have that be it. And I feel like I will never win an event or win a game, but I love that ship so much. And that would be super fun. And then in my packing, I realized I think I only have working models and dials to run 2. So I need to fix that. But
Yeah.
that's right. Okay, and then TIE Fighters are untouched. And then Phantoms, there it is. We got Echo. Standard loadout Echo going from 6 to 5, which is interesting. I've
Which
expected them to make a
yeah.
splash, but then haven't heard about it at all. It's also a little bit funny that those are flipped, where Echo comes before Whisper, where Whisper's the higher initiative.
Yeah. So they're both you've just cut out for me, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Whisper, she's I5, but without a trace, after you get in a cloak, you can remove 1 red. While you're cloaked, the enemy ships can't acquire locks on you. Relay system, after a friendly ship at 0 to 2 performs a lock action, you get a lock on the same object. And after you perform an attack that hits, you can spend a lock on the defender. If you do another friendly ship at 0 to 1 may acquire a lock on the defender and the Stygian in reserve after you execute a maneuver. You may perform it's basically afterburners on crack, but you only get 1 charge.
Yep. It's a
But
really,
she still gets the
yeah.
yeah.
And as I,
After you perform an attack, spend an action. Yeah, spend a charge to gain a cloak, and she still gets an auto evade after she decloaks.
right. Yeah. And as I recall, just a really
Yeah.
good wingmate for, I mean, any ship that can keep up with her, but especially for the standard loadout Whisper. And imagine it's probably pretty rare to see the two flown together, especially when they were 5 and 6 points, or both 6 points, excuse me. Because 12 points for 2
Yeah.
Phantoms is pretty steep, even if they're really strong. So, yeah. But I assume
Yeah.
that standard loadout Whisper sees a lot more play. Just Whisper. Um, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and I think Echo coming down to 5 is all right. Is all right. It will because at the same point value, I'm taking Whisper over Echo any day.
Yeah,
She just does more.
yeah. So
She's easier to do more with, whereas Whisper is a TIE Phantom you can take that has a lower skill floor than Echo, but Echo shines when you fly him superbly. So
right.
Silent Hunter, Decloak if you get a lock on anyone in your bullseye. Stealth Gambit, After a friendly ship performs an attack that hits an enemy in your front arc, if you're cloaked, you may gain a strain token to remove your cloak token and perform a bonus attack against the defender. So ideally, Vader Echo is 3 shots.
Yep.
Or any I5 actually, because Echo's I4.
Right.
So yeah, so Echo with standard loadout Echo, standard loadout Whisper is even more desirable now.
Oh, yeah. I can't
Um,
see. I could see a diehard running a
yeah,
triple ace list, but it's still a lot.
yeah, yeah. End of the engagement phase. If you're stranded, you gain the V token, which you can immediately turn into a decloak with the Stygium array. And
Right.
manual ailerons is what his old ability used to be. For 2 charges, when you decloak, you can spend a charge to use the bank templates instead of the straight template.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those ships. I can't
So
wait
yeah,
to
lots
fly
of
SL
options.
Phantom again.
Yeah. I think at 5 points I might take Echo. Because at 6 points at I4 is just a bit too chunky because
Yeah.
he's only 3 hull, 2 shield with 2 agility. So if you got really unlucky with the decloak, he's gone. And that's 6 points off the table. That's not like you'd
Yeah.
have to fly you'd have to fly Echo or Whisper to near perfection.
You just run him with an I6 with swarm tactics and call it a day.
Yeah. Which is very easily doable.
Oh yeah. And there are a couple options too, depending on how
I
expensive and how risky you want to go.
mhm.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the Empire.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and start. You want to go ahead and take care of scum? I'll just cackle madly and
Yep.
rub my hands together.
So So, so Scum, as they said, all the IGs are getting points buffs for their loadout value. So IG88 is still trailing the pack, but that's because his ability is really, really good. They don't want to have. He's always going to be an auto staple on any IG list, whether you're running Brobots or IG88 and putting the crew in somewhere. He's
Yep.
pretty much always going to be an auto take. But this puts them in line with the other 6 point ships that are flying around at the moment for Scum. A lot of the standard loadouts have roughly this much value worth of loadout anyway, so it's just bringing them up in line.
Yeah.
I haven't put together any lists at the moment to see what these guys can do, but I will very confidently run double Brobots and throw IG88D in there somewhere.
Yeah. And you've got 8 points
Uh,
to play with if you run 2 of them, which I
yeah,
really like. So you could reasonably do a 4 to 5 ship
yeah,
list with double bros. And A is the one that
yeah,
passes calculates, right? Or allows any ship with.
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
A is allows any ship that has the ship title, so IG 2000
Or IGD. Yeah.
or IGT. I'll get the exact wording on it. Uh,
And that's a good one. So it may pass a
yeah,
single calculate token to a friendly ship that also has
yeah,
the title or also has the calculate action. I forget the exact limitation there.
yeah. Let me grab the crew then. Let's just go with it. And
And
then
while you,
IG88D specifically says you have the pilot ability of each other friendly ship with the IG 2000 upgrade. And when you perform a calculate
yes,
action,
yep,
gain a calculate token. Yeah,
yep. So doesn't have the IG title, but just copies the card decks of the other pilot. Does that mean that once that pilot is destroyed, it turns off IGD? So if you only have one,
correct.
okay, yeah. Oh, yuck.
Yeah, so but IG88D does say you have the pilot ability of each other friendly ship with the IG 2000 upgrade. So
Right.
you can have 2 ships passing around calculates with just IG88A and a 88D crew member somewhere in there.
True. Yeah.
But typically, I'd fly it with a 2 IG88s. So then I get 2 of them. But
I was,
again, that means you're spending 12 points, but still.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny, like the ship it was an absolute menace in the age of advanced sensors and push the limit. Like it was crazy, crazy to do that. And they still can do
Yep.
similar to that because they now have the points to do advanced sensors plus a little bit of stuff, um,
Oh yeah.
which I appreciate. But them going from a well, I guess they were large base, weren't they?
Yeah. So they're medium base now.
Large to medium, so a little more maneuverable now. In an objective scenario, in an objective game, I feel like they're a little bit less threatening than they ever were. Um,
Mhm.
it's cool to see them see some play, but I feel like a lot of players don't have one, and that's one of the big limiting factors here. I only
Yeah,
have two,
I
and
have 3.
Nice. So you could do full robots.
I could do 3 out of 4 robots, yeah.
Okay. I'm still waiting for Cobble to go up to like 20 loadout. Give it to me, guys. Just let me unleash Cobble. Let him loose. Um, there's not a ton of other changes. So next up, we've got an unmentioned buff here. M1 Azamine goes from 14 loadout to 19 with a +5.
Yes, I'm
That's
so happy about this.
You can do a
I'm
lot.
so happy, Emon. Yeah, I'm
Being
so happy with this. I want Hondo to come back. Give me Hondo.
Give me Hondo
I,
back.
I
Yeah.
want to do my Hondo shenanigans.
I
In
want
a
Hondo
10
pilot
loadout
back.
is just. I want Hondo
Ah,
pilot back. He was so fun to fly. I want to fly him again.
and 710, like no one's taking Hondo at 7. That's crazy. Make him
No,
the 6.1. Come on.
He's an I1 coordinator though, and
Yeah,
he
but
gets a
he's
free
so
calculate.
bad.
He can do a lot of work though, because he can give himself double actions at I1
True. Yeah, but
and gets a calculate out of it. But yeah,
yeah. I
you
mean,
might as
he's
well just take the crew at that point.
yeah, which I do still take the crew. I love that crew and I can take it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Emin is one of the more often taken custom fire sprays. Anyway, people bring him up all the time. I don't know if he's been
Yep.
making any tournament appearances, but he's one of the
Not
weirder
that I've
fire
seen.
sprays. So I like to see him get a little bit of a buff. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've outside of Boba Fett, Emon's probably my most fly. I think Emon is actually my most flying fire spray, even including Boba Fett. I say that because I'm in particularly biased because I won a world's ticket using an Emon list.
yo, yeah, and he's one of the better performing ones too, because
Yeah.
Boba's hit or miss.
Oh
He's
yeah.
played
The
more, but
bombs are.
he's yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, the bomb
The
drops.
bombs on Emon just make him so consistent.
Yeah. All right, and then we jump to the
Yeah.
gauntlet where Scum Maul gets +6
Yes.
loadout plus drop seat bay. That makes him really
Yes.
scary. You can do a lot with that.
He. Yep. It was being. I think it was discussed on the Nickel City X-wing stream that Darth Maul has the most upgrade cards you can take on any ship in the game.
Scum bloat plus multiple double slots. Yeah, plus a lot of
Yep.
loadout. Yeah, so I mean, we're talking upgrade bloat, but if you have a 7-point ship in Scum, which usually has expensive pilots, if there's anywhere to have upgrade card bloat, let it be Maul Gauntlet. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
because
it.
Maul can take Night Brother, which gives him a crew slot, which trades out the modification slot though.
Right.
So you're staying neutral, but drop seat bears just removes a payload to gain 2 crew, so you're +1. So effectively you're 1, 2,
Is that
3,
4?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards.
But yeah, you can do a lot with him, and he's an interesting
Yeah.
piece to take with your IGs because you could do you.
I already take Lando Calrissian IG-88D on Maul.
And then they're initiative 4, so he could actually use his ability to double coordinate them. So that's actually not like Maul
Oh yeah.
+2. You could do 7/6 Maul, and then you've got a pretty interesting list. And
Yeah.
then Rook, who is criminally under, she had 8 loadout. Come on. Still goes from
Yeah,
8 to 12, but it's
she was rightfully nerfed.
sure.
Like say what you will, I love Scum Gauntlets. She was rightfully nerfed. Sad it happened, but she was rightfully nerfed.
And now no one flies a gauntlet, so sure.
Yeah,
But
so Garsax and Rook can give you 6 more gives you 6 more slots now.
oh yeah,
6 more loadouts. So she can still take a fair chunk of crew. So
yeah,
one crew by herself, but you can give her drop seat there to give her 3, which I don't think you'll ever take Mando. Don't
I take Optics Lando crew. That's kind of my go-to with Rook.
yeah. Honestly, you can Mando's
And
an auto take on Rook.
Mando crew to give her the white.
Yeah, so white reinforce.
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
Yeah, so white reinforce. That's your only action. That's fine because before you engage, you just give yourself a strain and you can mod your dice that way.
Yeah, fair.
So you're not you're not always constantly being stressed by doing your own reinforcing.
Yeah, you do her with one of the IG's IGD crew on Rook, then you can
Yeah,
pass her calculate tokens and do whatever else you wanted to with her as well. So give her Gar,
yeah. You'd
IGD
put
crew.
if you're yeah
Yeah,
yeah if you run IG88A, I would run Rook over Maul just to give her IG88D crew so she can get a calculate reinforce every turn.
yeah. That lets you
And
squeeze a
clan training because
little.
she
Oh
is
yeah,
also a Mando, so she can still take clan training.
yes, yeah, which is good. You keep her unstressed and give her the option to get focus, calculate. Yeah,
Yep.
there's still a lot of options you can do with 12. It's limiting, but
Yeah.
I
Calculate for defense. Yeah. Calculate for defense up until she gets to her attack, and then you take the focus for a big 3-4 dice hit.
right. And with drop seat, she gets 3 crew slots,
Which I
right?
agree.
So you could
3 crew
do
slots with drop seat. Yeah.
Mando, IGD,
And if you
Lando, and
drop
still
Gas
have
Maxim, that opens it. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Decent.
Give her a calculate if possible. When she attacks, she's probably last of the order anyway, so you can use Lando to spend her reinforce as well.
Yep. Yeah, I always really
Because
like that
Lando is
option.
yeah. Lando's any green token, so
Yes.
because reinforce is green, that's what a lot of YVs take advantage of with Lando.
Yeah, and I really
That's the
like that.
standard go-to Afra, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I do think that Rook's ability combos with that really nicely with the low initiative. Yeah, there's a lot you can work with there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And still a gauntlet. Still a Mandalorian gauntlet, which I also
Yes.
appreciate because Maul is
Still
not a
gauntlet.
Mandalorian. So it's like
Yeah. But I've tossing up the idea of Rook cast Bo-Katan and 2 Tank Fighters for 20 points.
okay. Oh, okay. And then we jump to Manaru, who goes from 18 loadout to, or excuse me, from 15 to 18 loadout, gaining 3. I am
Yep.
still not taking that. There's now other
Yep.
jump masters to take.
She still gets the title though, so
Yeah, title and a
the
cannon
title
slot.
really helps her out. Title cannon, yeah.
Yeah, but her initiative is so low. Like, she's 5 points, but I still would rather take Tell or Nom because you're not really using her ability. If they both have the same squad cost, double cannon slots, you can do a little bit more with that. And they don't get the title, but the title's not as good as a synced cannon anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Nom Lum with a synced cannon and like Dengar Gunner is just a much more consistent piece.
I'm still gonna find a way to make it work. I'm going back to triple U-boats. Even if
Yep.
it's going down to plasma torpedoes instead of proton torpedoes, I'm gonna do it.
The only downside for me is if you bring triples and you don't bring Dengar. I mean, if you do bring Dengar and Manaru, then Manaru doesn't get the title. But she's got and the single cannon slot is really not helpful. You need a double cannon slot to make that worth it.
So you can't really,
Yeah, because like the synced cannon is really the only fill-in equivalent for the title, aside from the title itself. Yeah. So yeah.
Ion cannon.
Yeah, but that you're really not doing meaningful damage, and it's an expensive enough ship that you really need to. I mean, ion control's a thing.
True.
There's synergy with it, but it's just slow.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
She can still take auto blaster.
Sure.
Yeah. It's hard to line up bullseye on a large ship.
Yeah, it's also been long enough that I don't really think of the auto blaster, and being range 1 to 2 is really limiting. So that limits your widest possible arc and limits a lot of shots. So yeah.
Oh no, like that's if you're gonna do triple U, you have to take either Dengar or Manaru. You can't take both.
Right.
Like if you want to do the triple U wing, you take Dengar. Honestly, you just take him as the standard because this is the problem with the standard loadouts at the moment with Scum. They're just infinitely better for the same cost.
But they do different things. So
I will. They do different. Well, Dengar is just a flat upgrade.
Yeah. Well, okay. My thought on that is that custom Dengar sucks. Like, if you're going to see Dengar actually appear, you need that standard loadout Dengar. It's not so much that they're competing with each other. It's that would rather keep the custom or the standard loadout one and kind of pretend the custom one doesn't exist. Because the
Yeah,
standard loadout
that's
is
pretty
kind of
much what I've
designed to
been
be
doing.
like a rewrite of the ship, which has been needed since 2.0
Yeah.
released. So yep, I'm down with that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
Nom
but
Lum though has been buffed over and over and over again to be this absolutely terrifying piece. You can do a lot with Nom Lum.
yeah, especially if you give him the sync laser, you don't care which way your turret's facing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that double cannon slot is huge. Like getting the cannon slot at all really helped the jump master, but getting the double on those two
Hmm.
really makes a difference. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all right. Let's see what else we got. We Scum was pretty small. We've the Quadrajet, Unkar Plut because everyone takes Sarko Plank because he's just the 3-point coordinator. Um,
Yeah.
Unkar going from 6 loadout to 9 now puts him in the case where he can be a more competitive coordinator. I believe that gives him
Yeah.
access to Hondo crew at I1, right?
I2. So he's still I2
Oh,
like
but
Sarko.
functionally sim. Wait, Sarko's
Yeah.
I2? Isn't he I3?
Yeah. Nope.
I2. Wow, okay.
I2.
I still like it. I love it. I would
But
just want to run
Unkar
both of them.
lets you play Sarko, you fly high speed coordinating.
Right.
Unkar, you want to fly as a close in coordinating.
Yeah, which I really like that. So,
Because that way you can get the track. Yeah, which I agree with. Like, very rarely did Sarko ever use his space truck tractor array, but
right.
Unkar, you just fly straight in, force a bump, because your I2 are usually going first, give your coordinate, force a bump, then tractor the ship that's bumped you, which is very, very scary if you've got a coordinating ship like Unkar or Sarko that's just passed out a bunch of that's made ships have access to easy double mods.
I really like space tugs, especially something like Unkar that you just sort of throw in the mix, and then a high initiative coordinator. So you use the tugboat as
Yeah.
a blocker, and then you coordinate it to do its actual tractor array to put something where it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want to be. Yeah, I generally really enjoy that, especially if you're using it as a coordinator. It flies in, does the coordinate, and then you still have the chance to use the tractor array. It's a lot of stuff invested
Yeah.
for, a gimmick, but it can be a devastating one. And it can, especially now in objectives games, you can actually pull ships off of objectives.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and
So
then
yeah,
the rogue we went.
Unkar loses the ability to have automatic targeting, automatic target priority, and overtune, but that's fine. You just at our range, you're flying in close range anyway, so you just change over not overtune contraband to dead man.
Mm,
So automated target priority dead man
he does hurt himself, doesn't he? If he
with
does
the
the self
on
tractor,
coordinate. No, he doesn't self tractor. He tractors someone else.
isn't it?
Oh, he does. Yeah, you and each other gain one tractor. You are correct.
He does tractor himself, but he doesn't actually
You
hurt himself. I'm
yeah
thinking of Unkar crew because
no,
Unkar Plut crew I think does damage.
I believe so. Let me double check.
Let me check that too. Unkar Plut crew is
MadKing.
yes. After you partially execute a maneuver, you may suffer 1 damage to perform a wide
Yeah,
action. There it is. Okay. Bump insurance. Man, I don't know
yeah,
why you don't see that guy anymore because that's actually pretty good.
yeah,
That's a really good upgrade to consider on these gauntlets now too. So they have the bump
yeah.
action thing. That's because now that they have the
Mm-hmm.
free extra crew slot or yeah, free extra crew slots from the drop seat.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
Okay.
Cad Bane, as discussed, loses synced proton,
Yep.
loses synced prockets, which you can still do. No, you can't, because you can't take anything else on him now, I think.
Just do HLC prockets, right?
Um,
No, I guess that
yeah,
you can. HLC's 5, prockets
yeah,
is 6, so that's still 11.
yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
dumb, but you can do it.
yeah. So just because he was, yeah, 13 points, but everyone just took proton rockets and synced and just gave him dead eye shot if you
I
wanted to.
I will continue to harp on my stupid point that with the title, Cad Bane is a criminally underrated 4-point crew carrier. Now we've got access back to our tugboats, so it's less, but
Oh,
still, he's
yep.
such a good crew carrier.
He
um,
gets crew with his title, which I think is how he's going to get changed to.
sure. Yeah, and that's like you can fit synced in there plus a relatively cheap crew, and there's a lot you can do with that. Um, yeah, I still,
Kira Mark Sable Closure is 3 points on
oh
Cad
yeah.
Bane.
I mean, you know me, I just throw Fenrir crew on there because that's the only place Fenrir is going to end up in my lists. Oh,
Yeah. But
okay,
again, that's the same thing. Like, I think Armed and Dangerous is just an outright upgrade over,
right,
especially now that he's lost the synced laser proton rockets. I think the Armed and Dangerous is just a flat upgrade.
sure. But that's the thing too, is that the sync laser proton rockets, that's it. That was all you had, and like nothing
Oh
else.
yeah, that's all you had,
And there's so
and the
much more
title, so you could
utility in the Dakar
the
ones. Yeah,
title, so you still got other stuff. Yeah,
cloak.
yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
But the Armed and Dangerous also has the title. So
right. So you still have the cloak. Yeah,
in
and some
fact, it
play off it, right?
in fact, Cad Bane Armed and Dangerous is a better cloak
Yeah.
because he gets the action baked in, and then Xanadu Blood as the title is after you decloak, choose an enemy ship in your bullseye. If you do that, ship gains a strain. So
Oh yeah, I
even more
love
of
that
what Cad
so
Bane needs to
much.
do, which is passing around tokens.
I cannot wait to get my Armed and Dangerous cards to start flying these things. I still have not put any one of them on the table, and I'm so pumped to do it. Um,
I've been flying a lot of Armed and Dangerous
oh yeah, I know we've talked about it. I can't wait
just because
to
it's
jump
so
into the
good. Yeah,
conversation. I really, I gotta toy with it
yeah,
myself. There is kind of a
yeah.
funny thing on this, and I no judgment, whatever. It is funny where in some of these cases the order's been flipped. So like right now, Guild Bounty Hunter is the first ST70, Mando's the last one, which whatever.
Yeah.
So we see the Guild Bounty
See,
Hunter go from 6 loadout to 12, so +6 for double loadout, which
I
is
like
really
it.
good because that pipped semi-generic is actually, you can do a lot with that. I really love the ability
I
on that to
honestly,
use.
I will.
Good.
Mhm. I'll spend 10 points to take double ST70s.
Yeah, because they get a free
They're only
offensive mod
I3,
too.
but their ability is great. Exactly.
The
You just give them
three.
Hotshot Tail Blaster for two
Yep.
points.
Yep. And then they just have a free offensive mod
So
twice. Throw in Predator, and they've got double offensive mods, and two of them is a lot to chew through.
yep.
Yeah, I
Lots
like
of
that.
options as well.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
Q9
Can keep them
untouched.
on generic upgrades. Yep. Q9
Yeah,
untouched. Mando. Okay, 6 and 18 loadout. That puts him back in line with what I was saying. A lot of the 6 point ships do feel like they are for the standard loadouts are about 18 loadout.
yeah, it's not bad,
Six
but
eighteen. I might try. Flying around with Mando again at 618.
there's stuff you can do
He
with
was.
it.
I would never take him at. Yeah, I'd never take him at 725.
No, I think what he really needs is more crew slots. One thing that's always
Yeah,
held
one
back my
crew slot
men,
really hampers him.
yeah, if he's at
Hmm.
that now, even with less loadout, like tweaking a little bit with 2 crew slots, that really opens up what you can do with him on a budget and the builds you actually want to run with him.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
with 18, he still can take the trifecta of Mando upgrades, right? He can take Fearless Clan Training, Mando Optics, although he only has one mod slot. That's a bummer,
He's only got one, so you only have Mando or Beskar. But
right?
you take Beskar on him. He needs the Beskar
Yeah, Beskar
because of his
Cutthroat
ability.
isn't the craziest thing.
Yeah, Beskar Cutthroat's great.
Yeah, so there's stuff you can do with that. 18 is not bad. That's
Yeah.
actually higher than I was thinking when they talked about reducing his loadout, but I still
Hmm.
think that I would keep that just a hair higher and or add that second crew slot. There's a lot more you can do with that to make it
I
a
think. Yeah.
functional ship.
I think
Um,
18 with double crew is fine.
yeah, yeah. As it stands now, the double illicit never made sense. Nobody ever uses both. Even now that you're
Yeah.
hiding one, I guess there are quite a few builds that did use both, but
Yeah.
give me the second crew or a way to get it.
Hmm.
Okay. And then I think that's it for
Yeah.
Scum, and we're doing
That is
okay.
it for Scum.
Oh Jesus, Resistance is just full of changes. Okay. God, you didn't even
Yeah.
see these mentioned. So the A-Wing chorus
They did
gets.
mention the Y. Yeah.
You're
So
right, the Y-Wing.
Resistance, we
My bad.
start with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do start with the Y-Wings. That was mentioned. So all the
Okay.
non-wartime loadout got slight loadout buffs. Again, making it so they can't can't get proton torpedoes
Right.
at 3 points, which is fair enough.
Yeah. So they're still buffed and better, and we talked about that before. That how losing wartime loadout is basically going to kill the chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's good. That pretty much all of them getting +2 or +3 loadout, with Wilsa coming out at +3 to go from 5 to 8. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Now for their pilot abilities and their initiative, you can justify taking some of the cheaper ones, and Resistance can now really flood the board with Y-Wings. Um,
Yeah.
was that you could take 6 3-point Y-Wings? One, two, three, four, five. You can't do 6, but still, you can pack a lot of Y-Wings in there. And even if
Well,
they just have like a
yeah.
dorsal and a plasma torpedo, they still are not nothing.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Plasma's 7, right? Or is
And
it 5?
intuitive interface is real. Yeah, Plasma 7.
Okay, yeah. So they can't
So
all
you
do
can
that,
run
but
6 Kijimi Spice Runners and run
just
well,
plasma
Dorsal's
turrets.
3, Plasma 7. So you can
Okay,
run 6 Spice Runners with Plasma turrets.
and that still gives you 2 points to play with, which is silly. Um,
Yeah.
okay,
So bump it down to 5, take a 5-point ship.
yeah, there you go. Oh God, that sounds like the worst list ever. I don't want to see that. Yuck. Okay,
You're welcome.
what have I done? Okay, and then we've got Jarek and the Fireball going down to 3, which is good as like the headliner there. Going
Yeah,
down to 3, but losing,
a lot of loadout.
what is that? 3/4, 2/3 of his loadout from 20 to 6. Yikes.
Yeah.
She probably didn't need that much. And for 3 points, you can really still do a lot with him at 6 loadout. And then Kaz going
Mhm.
opposite direction, staying 4 squad points, going up 3 to 16 loadout.
Yeah.
Dang. I hear about a lot of people taking Jarek because he was cheap and could fit in there, and I was even better at that. And a lot of people taking Kaz because you could make him a budget T70. And I think he does that well too.
Hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I think Garrett coming down to 3 really will have him fit in a lot more lists. And he
Oh,
does
yeah.
some fun stuff too.
Yeah. Really good. And just him and Bucket. I think Bucket and Title are the things you have to have, and then you still have a couple points to
Yeah.
play with. That's cool.
Hmm.
Merle losing loadout from 6 to 5, so no more Prockets.
Yeah.
Sefton, we talked about these ones. So Sefton going from 3 to 4 squad value and plus 10
Sefton's
loadout.
alright.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from 2 loadout to
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
He had 2 loadout? That seems a little silly. And the RC2s, they're a bit of a menace. I'm kind of okay with them being a little bit nerfed, but like 2 loadout, you can do anything with 2 loadout.
Yeah.
Um, and then Zari getting flipped around, going from 4 to 3 squad points and losing 12 loadout to go down to 5. Interesting. It's always
Yeah.
funny to have a
Well,
ship with 2
yeah.
talent slots with 5 loadout. You're like, all right, thanks, great.
Mhm.
But
Well,
I
Sefton
guess
at 2, you just take
heroic plus a couple points. No,
yeah, you
heroic
just
is
took
2.
heroic. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You just took heroic. But his ability more than made up for it. After you perform a boost action, you can transfer 1 evade token to a friendly ship at range 1, and because of refined gyros, after you perform an action, you get a red boost. So
Oh yeah. So you could evade boost and
evade
then throw
boost, if
evade.
no
So
one's looking at him, yeah. If no one's looking at him, pass off the evade to a friendly at range 1 that is being looked at.
that
For 3
seems,
points and only getting heroic, that's pretty good.
yeah, that seems pretty good. So I get why he was buffed to 4. But that's a
And he's
lot of
and
loadout.
he's I5.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's I5, so
That still is a lot of loadout
a
for something
3-point
like that.
I5 yeah, 3-point I5 that's doing soft coordinates by token transferring is pretty good.
And
And of course, because heroic's heroic, you staple it onto literally every resistance ship that ever exists.
oh, especially the A-wings. Yeah. Um,
Oh yeah.
offense A-wings, defense T70s. Yeah. And he can comfortably take Prockets plus a bunch of extra points now. So he's got Prockets plus 6
Oh
points
yeah.
to play with. But I kind of like that
Hmm.
because he's a ship that always wants to evade, and that gives him a really strong incentive to focus.
Yeah.
So, interesting. And then ZZ, custom ZZ, no, excuse me, Zari, again going down 1 squad point and then going down to 5 loadout. Oh God, here we go. And then the transports, we talked about Kova. We didn't talk about Kova, but Kova is kind of the one I expect to see, going from
Hmm.
19 loadout to 22. Resistance has some insane crew too, so that's there's a lot you can do with that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then we see Taka, who's I've just never seen, going from 15 to 20 loadout. So on
Yeah.
par with Kova, comfortably now second place for total volume of loadout. We're previously being
Yeah.
tied for
But
last.
Yeah, his ability is all right. His ability is great, and he loses that. He doesn't have access to Hondo Crew, which when you read his
Ah,
ability after you gain a gem, you must assign one gem to another ship at 0 to 1 of the gem ship if able. And because Hondo Crew hands out gems, you're double jamming.
right.
It's
Yeah, which
understandable why he never gets that. Which is understandable why he never got access to a crew slot.
yeah, but he's got, I want to say Astromech. There are ways to jam yourself. And you can also have
Astromech.
another ship just jam you. Maybe. I'm thinking of Republic. I'm thinking of Republic Astromech because I
Yeah,
think,
Republic.
yeah. Let's see. And then the YT 1300, we've got Han Solo going from 24 total loadout value to 21.
Yep,
Assume
which is
this.
not too. It forces you to trim down a little bit,
Yeah,
but that's fine. Like
yeah.
his resistance hunt is still in a good spot.
The one that still cares the pants off me is still Ray. Like I understand Poe is good, but then Ray with
Poe
28
is good,
loadout.
yeah.
Whew, I don't want any.
But they did get rid of her talent, so she can't heroic with Finn anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That is good because Heroic
Which is
Finn was really
which
the
was the
busted. Yeah.
but as a result, Ray hasn't been flown since. People just let go of it.
Right. Still stupid good. Like it's still an incredibly powerful ship. But
Yeah.
all right, T70s, we've got Elo Atsi going from 12 to 15 loadout. We've got Temen going from 5 squad points to 4 and losing 5 loadout to go down to 7. We've got
Mm-hmm.
Black Squadron Ace going up from 4 squad points to 5, interesting, but then going from 2 loadout to 15, which now does give you the option of bringing a generic and loading it down with upgrades to build it the way you want. I appreciate that they do that, and that it is odd that the T70s didn't have an expensive, highly customizable generic, because that's something they did for most other chassis.
Yeah.
In turn, we have the Blue Squadron Rookie going down to 4 squad points and losing 6 loadout to go down to 7. And still, you can
Mm-hmm.
do a lot with those generics, even the four
Oh yeah.
sevens. Hmm. All right, let's see. Now, first order, there weren't a ton here. So we've got Hollow again going from 12 to 15 loadout, which is
Yep.
frightening. We've got Scorch, Evacuation of Dakar going down
You
from 4
copied
to
one.
1, or 4 to 3,
Yeah.
excuse me. Jesus, we talked about that.
Yep.
Curious to see how that performs. And then we have Grudge. Grudge, the FO bomber, going from 4 squad points to 3, but then going from 16 loadout to 7.
Yeah.
That's very low for an ordnance carrier. It's still 7. You can still play with that a little bit, but not much. You don't have a ton of wiggle room there.
Yeah. If you're taking Grudge, you're usually taking another bomber as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then we've got the SF.
So
These
3 points
were,
to get Grudge's ability go off. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
um, yeah, because Grudge is the bomb reroll one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, gnarly. Yeah, that's a nasty one. So I do appreciate having him in there. So it's like you take him for his ability, not for the other stuff he does. So I do appreciate that was flipped.
Yeah.
So it
Exactly.
wasn't just you take him for whatever he does and then also his ability. Yeah, and going
Mm-hmm.
down to 3 for that makes sense. And then the SFs, backdraft going to 4 points is frightening. Losing, going down
Yep.
from 17, no, 15
15.
loadout down to 8 with the double missile. That's still backdraft at 4 concerns me, but 8 loadout. And then the generic Omega Squadron Expert going down from 5 to 4 and going from
Mm-hmm.
13 to 9 loadout. So we're seeing some of the
Yep.
generics get cheaper. I don't know what you can really do
Mm-hmm.
with that, but I mean, if people want to fly generics, let them set them free.
Go ahead. Yep.
There we go. So Kylo Whisper Kylo, not seeing much play in XWA, going down from 6 squad points to 5, but from 20 loadout value to 12. And you don't need a ton of loadout on Kylo. That does make it a little bit harder to justify prockets, but still a lot you can do with that. And that's a scary ship.
Yeah.
It's such a cool ship. It's
Whisper
like
is
a,
because you got enhanced jamming suite on it. Jamming
yeah,
suite Kylo is pretty nutty.
it's nasty. It's like a first order Nantex. I kind of love it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got Nightfall going up 3 from 8 to 11 loadout. And
Yep.
then Red Fury Zealot, the generic, interestingly going from 8 loadout to 7. Do you have any insight on that one?
No, I really don't.
I'm sure there's a reason for it. And then we've got the Starkiller base pilot, the generic Upsilon, going down to 6. I don't like it. And having loadout from 22 to 17.
Yep.
Oh, I remember going up against triple Upsilons. I never want to see it again. Which
Oh, that was gross.
there are many ways to
Yeah.
comfortably do that still, and it's pretty scary because you could even
Mm.
do Thanos and standard loadout now and still do it. Ugh.
Yeah.
And what is the Z shuttle?
Xi shuttles, yeah, the
Xi
Terex and
shuttle.
Malorus,
Yep. So Terex
which
going
was
from 6 to 8 loadout, and then Malorus going from 8 to 14. Man, Malorus has a ton of loadout now. You can do a lot with those. I think.
yeah. Terex just adds into their ability because now
Okay.
you can comfortably take a bunch of illicits
Oh, sure. Yeah,
and
yeah.
pass them around.
Right. Which
Yeah.
before it didn't make sense to take them at all. I don't see the shuttle very much. I want to say I really liked Hask. Like Hask as the shuttle for his crazy
Hmm.
ability and just mucking around with it. But I did like Hask Hondo Crew, something typically weird for me.
Yeah.
And then if you want to take the lead on Republic, I've been talking too much.
Yeah, sure thing. Republic, so Arc 170s, Jag has come down one. This is the custom Jag. Also losing some loadout.
Hmm,
This is why our Siege of Coruscant Jag was taken a bunch, is because he was 4 points.
sure.
And he can do a fair bit with his Siege of Coruscant's pretty good.
Yeah, he had all the upgrades you'd
Siege
want to
of
take on an
Coruscant,
arc. Yeah.
it was, yeah, very kind to arcs. Veteran Tail Gunner, R4P Astro, synced console, and then still gets his ability where if you're not strained, you can acquire attack on defenders if someone in your side arc attacks.
Hmm.
For 4 points, that's pretty nutty.
Yeah.
Wolf Custom, Wolf Custom going up 2 upgrade points. So I think that gives him access to VTG and VTG alone.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
VTG 6? That sounds about right.
6 points. Yeah,
Certainly not 4.
yeah. So it gives him access to VTG, which, if you're going to do that, that's all you can spend on it, which is
Yeah.
fair enough.
Isn't Wolf's ability one that kind of needs to do the double tap? Because doesn't he do the.
While you perform a primary attack, you can spend 1 energy to reroll 1 attack dice, and while you perform a rear arc primary, you can recover 1 energy to reroll roll 1 additional attack dice. So yeah, VTG Wolf,
Yeah, so you don't
pretty
kind of need
gnarly.
it, but yeah, it's one of the reasons you would ever take him. And since the standard loadout has it, there's no reason to take the custom even at 4. Which now I think you're going to see
Exactly.
more
Yeah.
wolves at with the option to do that because it's still good to take at 4
Yeah.
points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And just that, yeah, I would. Y-wings broadside got a little bit, so +2 from 6 to 8.
There's a buff to R2.
Yep. Well, it kind of just pays for dorsal turret now.
Sure.
Yep. Goji down from 4 and 16 to 3 and 8. I think, yeah, this is really kind of, you want the clone ordnance coming in.
Yep.
Yep.
So Goji, yeah, so Goji can't carry very much, but it still is in there. And then R2 can now take Hondo crew plus turret, just for kicks.
Yeah, just for kicks.
He's I2, right?
Yes.
But wants calculate actions, if I recall correctly. So it's not
You
a
still can't Hondo turret. So Hondo is 8, so you can't take a dorsal if you take Hondo.
dorsal's 3. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but 10 points still gives you some options.
Yeah.
Lets you take a decent crew.
You
Take
could still.
C3PO on a joyride.
That's fun imagery. Surely I didn't. Okay, no, okay. I saw a 40 loadout, but it's the CR90 Corvette, of course. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Deltas. Oh my
Then we
God.
go down to the Aether Sprites, which was discussed.
Hmm.
So all the 7 Aether Sprites are Addy goes up from 6 to 12. Ahsoka up to 7, from 7 to 8. Anakin comes down 1, but loses 7 loadout, but he's fine with that because he just strips all his stress anyway.
Sure, but I mean, yeah, with only 5 loadout though, there's a lot less you can do with him. But for Anakin, I mean, having a
Oh yeah,
5-point Anakin Aether sprite, even if it's the non 7B, is
yeah,
still pretty
but they
crazy.
all get calibrated laser targeting baked in.
Right.
So
Yeah.
5-point Anakin and an Aether sprite with calibrated laser targeting for free, pretty good. That's just a free hit.
True. Yeah, that's fun. And as a 3 of a Tree Force I6, it still is a real nasty thing to pin down and take care of. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. And then if you take Obi in the Ada, he still gets access to Obi can still trigger his ability off 7B Aether, off 7B Anakin.
And that now is 9 points, where before it was a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Ada
It
Obi is
was
4, yeah, 4 and 5, 9. Okay. Which
yeah.
is,
So 9 points, but
oh, yeah, that's a lot. You better fly him really well.
yeah, because yeah, it's after you or a friendly Anakin Skywalker at range 0 to 3 fully executes a maneuver. So
Yep.
still pretty good because it's any Anakin Skywalker. So you
Right.
could throw Obi in the Ada and give um Yannikin a free focus.
Yannick.
So Y-wing Anakin.
Right.
Y-wing Anakin.
Yeah.
Yannikin.
And that flips too, right? Where if you
Yep.
have Ada Anakin,
Yes, it
and then you
goes off
have,
the 7. You can use the 7 Obi-Wans. Yep.
yep. I feel like Ada Anakin and 7B Obi-Wan are kind of the route that I would personally take, just because that would be,
Yep. Because Anakin lets you spend a force and that ship can barrel roll in the
oh
Ada.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But there's got to be more enemy ships at range 0 to 1.
Right. Yes, you kind
So
of got to be putting
there's
Obi-Wan
every
in
chance that
dangerous
it doesn't.
places.
Yeah. Yep. Barris getting +2 and Obi getting +1 in the 7s.
Yep.
So Obi-Wan in the 7 is great anyway. After a friendly ship at 0 to spends a focus, spend a force. If you do, that ship gains a focus again.
Yeah, crazy good ability.
So yeah, you're already taking Obi for his crazy good ability anyway, so he gets one extra loadout, so he can take some so he can take a astromech and some force upgrades.
Yeah, and he's the one with it. You keep talking about clone ordnance. He'd be a really excellent one to put in with some clone ordnance. If there's lock passing already, and throw
Yep.
him in there for focus passing, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, focus regaining.
Right.
So it's after a friendly ship spends the focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anakin in the 7B also coming down 1 point to 6 and losing 6 loadout value, but that's the offensive Aether. That's the offensive version.
That's the really scary Anakin. 7B Anakin is a
Yeah.
terrifying monster and has been for many different versions of the game.
So 7B Anakin, Ada, Obi-Wan is 10 points now.
Yeah. Which is
Which I'd take.
yeah. Plus, it's just so
I'd take.
thematic, and then you just fill that sucker up with like a bunch of random clones.
4-point arc because there's still 4-point arcs that exist, and two 3-point ships. So Axe is a guaranteed take.
Sure.
As the Axe is a guaranteed take in the torrent,
And then
and
probably
then
a
another
V-wing.
3-point ship somewhere else.
I would take a
Yep.
V-wing, but I could see it
So
being another torrent.
yep, or another torrent. Yep.
Oof. So are people just not flying Anakin outside of the Y-wing, like, or the Ada? So I guess it's only Ada.
People were they were just it was what I've mostly been flying against was Yannikin with Plo Koon and Obi-Wan.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, gross.
Or at least some kind of force, yeah. Plo Koon, Yannikin were the main takes for Republic.
And then Obi-Wan to keep them full up on focuses.
If you want to spend that many points, yeah.
You're right.
But yeah, Plo Koon is. I'm glad Plo Koon didn't get hit because Plo Koon's still a really good take in the 7B.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sorry, in the 7.
Right.
Yep. Because just stealing friendly,
Bad tokens. Yeah.
stealing green 2. Yeah, stealing tokens. Yep, and Sacy Tin down from 6 to 5 and getting 3,
That's really interesting, gaining loadout and
which
getting
is
reduced in
odd.
cost. Stacey
Yeah,
must just not be
which is
seeing
odd.
any
But
play.
yeah, but you have next to no ability. You have next to no upgrades, and you
Yeah,
lose the mod slot because you automatically must take the
7B. Yeah,
sync laser targeting.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, you don't get sync laser targeting in the 7 sync in
No,
the
so
7B.
she's a 5-point X-Wing with 2 force, if I recall
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
Still not bad. Didn't
And
really make
then
sense at 6, but it could be something to take at 5.
yep. And then yeah. She just lets ships change their dial for speed and difficulty for spending a force at 0 to 2.
Oh yeah.
So
So it
she's not
doesn't
that bad of a take.
yeah, it doesn't do anything for herself. So it makes sense to make her a little cheaper and not quite as customizable.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, 0 to 2 it still affects her.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, okay. All right. And then we've got the gauntlet.
Yep. Bo-Katan and Night Owl Liberator going up in their loadout values, which is good. I want to see more gauntlets on the table.
Just run triple night owls
Bo-Katan
and
is
a
the
torrent.
Bo-Katan is the only gauntlet I've seen being run
At all?
so far
Really?
at all that I've played
The
against outside myself.
the SL or the gauntlet? Or the Republic one?
Got Republic Bow.
Hmm, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You could do triple Night Owl Liberators just loaded to the gills with Mandalorian upgrades and then a single
Yep.
torrent with Born for This.
Uh,
Just have a weird party.
yeah. The LAATs
Yep.
all getting love except Warthog.
Oh, who already had 26 loadout and still has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always tempted to run Warthog, but a 6-point lat is definitely a hard sell. But it's a really strong case to bring Yoda crew and then charge up your Jedi, especially now that several of them got cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So Sacy plus Anakin, especially the 7B versions of both, they have a lot of offense, and you could keep them charged up on their force with Yoda crew. That could actually be an incentive to actually take Warthog now that those pieces got cheaper.
Yeah.
Or you could just go Warthog, Yoda crew, and then Obi-Wan to keep everything juiced up on focuses.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And then the N1s, it looks like only Anakin got touched.
Yep. Which is just +3, which doesn't really give him too much. It does give him access to pure proton torps now.
Yep. Which still, proton torps with a force is still good.
Yep.
But it's not game breaking.
No, you only have access to one force though on
Right.
N1 Anakin, so that's probably why they said, yeah, we're okay with them having proton torps.
Yeah. Back in the
Because
day, he
you
had
get nothing else for it.
yeah. Back in the day, he had access to other stuff too, but close to that. So just like a naked Anakin with protorps
Mm-hmm.
for 4 points is not bad.
Yeah, spend your force, get a free barrel roll that's not an action before you reveal your maneuver, so I4 reposition before you move.
Yep.
Pretty spicy. Oddball in the viewing, going up 1, but gets a bunch of loadout to compensate.
Almost double.
Yep.
Oof. Okay.
But he does some good stuff. So he was pretty good for 3 points. After you fully execute a red maneuver or perform a red action, if there's a enemy ship in your bullseye, you may acquire a target lock on that ship.
Yep.
So you can just 4K get a lock.
Right.
As,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And throw the synced console in there. You've got an I5 who's passing target locks to other ships. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And
And
then
then, yeah.
think that's it for Republic. Is Separatists our final faction, or is there another one down there somewhere?
Uh, that's our final faction because that's all upgrade. That's all upgrades after this.
Oh, it's all single document now. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Belbelab, we talked about Grievous going from 4 squad points to 5, but gaining 9 loadout to go to
Yep.
20. Loaded with
Yep.
stuff.
So
He
he's
can do
back to
all the
his
things.
AMG days.
This was not
So
mentioned, and this
Solus
is.
one.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Solus one outmaneuver and Pervium plating. He's back to his old AMG ways.
Nice. And there are two ships in Separatist that I always really want to see do well, and they're both generics. There's the Fearsome Predator, which shown here was unmentioned. The triple pipped droid tri-fighter Fearsome
Yep.
Predator going from 3
Getting
loadout to
2 points.
5. It's not a lot, but it's
So they
enough that
can
you
take
could.
rockets.
They can take Prockets. I thought Prockets were 6.
Yep. So it's. Oh no, you are right. Sorry, I thought it was
Yeah,
5 to 7. You are right.
yeah, but they still get a little bit, so they can now take like a system slot, and then also what shell charges or shell charges for. Not that they
No,
need
they're two.
them.
They can
They're
take
2?
shell
Okay.
charges.
Which they don't necessarily need them
So
because they already
basically,
have 3
yep.
native attack dice.
Mm-hmm.
It does give them the option to take a more expensive talent or a talent plus something else. So they could take like FCS and a
Mm-hmm.
talent. Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's an interesting chassis. I really want to see Tri-Fighters do better because you barely ever see them except for Volan Das, who's not a droid. um, yeah. And then they talked about the fire
Mm-hmm.
sprays. Baby Boba going double loadout from 5 to 10. Django going from 21 to
Yep.
25 loadout. Zam going from
Mm-hmm.
17 to 20. With the number of slots,
Hopefully
those.
this. Yeah. Those suckers have a lot of slots.
Yeah, with the number of slots and the cost of a lot of the Separatist upgrades, that's really good to kind of open up what they can do. I don't think the fire
Yep.
sprays. Have you seen any Separatist fire sprays played anytime recently?
No, not in a long while.
I don't even remember
So
the
I
last
hope
time.
this brings fire sprays back to the table. Yeah.
Yeah, Django at 8 with 25 loadout is a really tempting
There's
piece,
a lot.
especially with the
Yeah.
number of cheap ships that Separatists can throw together as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ton of buffs right here. Then, of course, we've got Bo-Katan Gauntlet going from 8 loadout to 14 plus 6. Deathwatch Warrior, the generic, going from 15 to 20, also nice. Pre-Vizsla going
It's
from
not a generic,
20.
it's unique.
Oh, you're right. Oh, weird. A unique generic. Is that supposed to, well, is that actually a unique
Mm,
generic? Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Pre-Vizsla going up 5 from 20 to 25. And then all of those also getting the free Drop Seat Bay is also a big buff in terms of points cost. So even with this gain, they're gaining even more than they were getting free.
Mm-hmm.
And opening up the
Yep.
slots of having the additional crew slots. Yeah, those can do a lot because all
Yeah.
of them now will have
Mm-hmm.
3 crew slots, right?
Yeah.
And then Bo-Katan also has some access to the Separatist title. Yeah, there's stuff you can do there.
Yeah,
And then,
which also gives you a crew slot.
right. Oh, so Bo-Katan has 4 crew
So
slots,
Bo-Katan can get up to 4 crew slots, yeah.
which in
But 14
Separatists,
only 14 points.
yeah. And if you're putting that many together, there aren't that many cheap ones that really work well together. There are a
No.
couple, though, that you could throw in there, but
And she doesn't have a tactical relay, so she can't get a tactical droid.
yeah. Pre is tempting there with the 25 because you could throw on Chancellor Palpatine and then
Dooku.
do, well, you could do
Oh yeah,
Dooku and
Chancellor
Palpatine
Palpatine
on
or
that.
Duke.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do there. But now this also, does Django have his crew slot? He does. So Django could also take Dooku crew and still do a lot with those points.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. And then the HMB, we already talked about DGS 286 going from 3 to 4 and getting plus 6 loadout. Can still do a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Yeah, you can do a lot with that. I actually was a little bit bummed when it went down to 3, but the loadout was so low. So, I mean, there's no 3 point now, I'm
Yep.
sure, but now they all have meaningful amounts of points to play with, which is good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I I still pretty much always reach for the Geonosian prototype because I like them with synced cannons, and that's the only build I really put on the table.
Yeah.
And then we saw the Hyenas DBS 404 going up 1 squad point from 3 to 4, sure. But then
Hmm.
gaining 5 loadout to go from 9 to 14. That's nice. And then standard loadout
Yep.
DBS 404 going down to 3. I kind of love that. I love having access to a 3-point DBS 404.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 32C custom, staying 3 points and going up 4 loadout to 7. So now you can put Kraken on there. That's fun.
Yeah. And that's all you're really doing with him.
Yeah. Is he the one that has coordinate?
Uh, he's the
I
one
want
that
to.
has jam. Oh, unless Kraken. No, Kraken doesn't give it to us. He's got access to jam.
Does he? Wait,
But yeah, his action is coordinating. His ability is coordinating at the start of engagement phase.
that's right. You trade something for a coordinate. Oh, that's yeah. Okay,
But it can only be networked calculation ship. So
right.
he's already wanting to be in TIE swarms anyway.
Yep.
Giving him Kraken is yep,
Al-
Kraken on network, yeah.
Although I will say the
Kraken
relay
on DBS is kind of gross.
the relay that I hear coming up the most often is the least fun. It's just a very reliable defensive one that lets you do the calculate to and evade. I forget the number, but the one that lets you change
Uh
if
K2B4.
yeah, and that's if you're not in if a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 up to 3 times per turn is not in the enemy bullseye, they can spend a calculate to change a green die to an evade, right?
So K2B4 is while friendly ship at 0 to 3 defends, it can spend 1 calculate token. If it does, add 1 result, unless the attacker chooses a strain.
Period. Okay.
So great for helping Swarm stay alive because they don't want to be strained when going into Energy Shell Swarm.
Yeah. I also really like
Um,
that on Tri-Fighters. So Tri-Fighters
yeah.
with independent calculations, which I think they can still take. So they double calculate and then
Mm-hmm.
have free evades. That's really good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. And then,
TV94 gives
oh,
calculate for an attack result, for a hit result.
I always
If
like
it's
that one,
attacking,
but
if it's a,
it's bullseye only, right?
2 of your attack dice. Yeah, and it bullseye only. So just once the energy shells are used.
I've always
And
wanted
you're
that one
thinking of
to work.
Kalani.
Oh, Kalan. Wait.
Yeah, it was Kalani. After an enemy ship executes this maneuver, if it's in the bullseye arc of a friendly ship at 0 to 3, you may spend 1 energy. If you do, that ship requires a lock on the enemy ship, then gains 1 stress, and that's 3 times a turn, and it gains all 3 of those charges back at the end of the turn.
That's the one. Okay. Yeah, the one you can do 3 times per turn
Yeah,
is really good. Three
yeah,
times per turn every turn. That one's very, very good for also Tri-Fighters. So it's a shame you can't do double relays, but I see why you can't.
yeah.
Um, I
And
mentioned
then
Fearsome Predator as a pilot I
TA
always want.
170, yeah,
Confetti
yeah,
Bot. Yeah.
he's fun.
I
Mm-hmm. What
remember
else you
that
can do?
one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's the only tactical droid carrier, but that's fair.
Sure.
When it's got the named droid control signal relay, it's fair enough that it gets a tactical.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just love how unique separatists are, and I do wish there was more utility in more of the relays, because especially the ones that are bullseye limited, those tend not to trigger or not be worth it. And that the evade one is the one that
yeah,
performs well every time is a bit of a bummer, but I get how powerful it is. Um, yeah, let's see. And then Berwerkret,
yeah.
the Nantex, 3-point Nantex, yikes, gains 1
Yep.
loadout value from 2 to 3,
Yep. So he can take the gravitic deflection now. So while you defend, you may reroll 1 defense
oh,
dice for each track the chip in the attack arc.
which would be him.
Which, because you're usually tractoring him, yeah, he can reroll 1 defense dice, which is a little oppressive.
Is a
But
little really,
again, he's only got focus evade.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
He can't take ensnare, so I don't I would not run a Nantex without ensnare,
no, oh no, I agree.
but
But
they
it's
are
an
fun.
option.
Yeah, I would maybe run a high initiative one without ensnare because you know when it's safe to like tractor
He's
yourself, but
I5,
he is I5. Okay, I
so
can
it's
see that.
I5. So yeah,
Yeah,
and he gives you run him with a HMP swarm. After you
Oh,
perform
that's
an
right.
attack that hits each friendly ship with the calculate on its action bar and a lock on the defender may perform a red calculate. So you run him with HMPs.
Yep. So because you get the lock, the calculate lock. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I could
Yeah.
see that. Okay, so him getting a little bit stronger or a little bit more durable in line with the
Yeah.
HMP getting more expensive. Yeah, that makes sense. That could be fun.
Yeah.
And then with the rogues,
Rogues.
go ahead.
So cats come down, so you can't take the
Synced
you
Procket.
can't take synced procket, which is fair enough.
Sure.
A lot of CIS was just stapling Cad Bane, Sync Prockets, and Dirge 8-point core, just straight and a lot of them were also running 4-point Grievous, so 12 points for some really good ships.
I could see that a lot more with Cad Bane Separatist because his ability is so much more conducive to Prockets because you get the
Yep,
free actions for
exactly.
popping
Yep.
droids. Yeah. Let's do it, scum.
Yep. And then but 12 points for Cad Bane, for Dirge, and for Grievous. Grievous and Dirge are difficult to kill on their own.
Yeah.
Cad Bane, if he's rolling well, is also difficult to kill.
Right. And so now that same list is
2 and
14
5.
because both Dirge and Grievous went up.
Grievous went up 1. Yep.
Yeah.
But Dirge with 10 can still do a lot, though.
He's got 16 now. Yeah, Dirge with 16
Yeah,
can do
Dirge
a
with 6.
lot. Dirge was 6,
Dirge
was
with
not.
6. But yeah, but you took him for his ability, which is 4 points. You have to kill a ship twice.
At least.
Like, if at least like if his ability works on average, you're killing 1.5 ships. If his
Yep.
ability works fantastically, you're killing 2 ships.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, very unlikely, then you got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the rogue is a chassis that also is points hungry. So I never like to see a rogue with low loadout. So it's cool to see him get that back, even if that and making him 5 points does make sense for the durability you get.
Yeah. And he was a 4-point I5 I5 double actioning ship.
Yeah.
With dead to rights as well. Like
Right.
can still do a lot of that like he can still take sync laser cannons if you want. You can still give him proton cannons. At I5, I'd probably give him proton cannons.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm getting 16 loadout.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and that our final change is that Magna Guard Protectors went up from 6 loadout to 9, which I believe opens up synced and then a couple extra points. Where before I think it was just synced. So synced in a mod, I guess. Okay. I always like those.
Okay.
Yeah, that just synced on those is all you really need. I really liked them with synced and afterburners. That was really good to make them actual bodyguard ships that could keep up with stuff.
Yep.
But that was a boat ton of loadout.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
So you can do synced independent calculations on them.
Oh, okay.
Like their network calculations, so you can keep that.
Right.
Or you can give them engine upgrade.
Oh, you can. Okay. So I mean, white boost, sure.
Sync laser cannon engine upgrade. Yeah.
That's not bad, especially since their ability is really passive. Yeah, I like that, and I really enjoy
their ability. You need to be calculating or evading. So you'll usually calculate boost or evade.
Yeah, it would really make sense for them to be synced cannons, indie calcs, and just have them fly as
definitely
together, but not cooperating. And I really like those would be really good with Django. So like the 2 of those plus Django.
Oh yeah.
I really like that. And that's very thematic, but that is 16 points. So you only have 4 left to play with after that. So you better really it better work.
Yep, just 2 vultures, honestly.
Yeah, it would have to be, right? Unless you do an HMP and just do a 4-ship list.
Yeah, but I'd probably run 2 vultures.
Yeah, for the objective, so you can have that be a real threat and just mess with stuff, and then have some objective control. Yeah, that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah, that also double rogue fire spray does give you pretty good points fortress where it's hard to steal points from your list. Whereas vultures, you can bleed points a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so what is your top and bottom change? Thing you're most and least excited about?
Gauntlets, but top change.
Top change is gauntlets. Okay.
I love gauntlets. I love gauntlets. I bought 2 of them when they came out. I've always wanted to keep flying gauntlets whenever possible. all the points changes made it really wonky to start flying weird and wonderful lists with gauntlets. So having them come up in loadout, fantastic. I also like the separatist changes.
Yep.
It just changed enough where it shakes up their list building, but it doesn't change enough to ruin their identity.
Yeah.
Ones I don't like any of the upgrades, to be honest.
I mean, just to say it, I think
I think
my favorite is Django. I really like to see Django buff that much. I don't know if it's going to matter,
yeah,
but still excited to see that. And then rock bottom, I think, is Manaru. Huh. Um,
I like the Manor change, but that's me.
yeah,
I'm biased to.
I don't mind the change. I just don't think it's going to impact anything. So it's just like it's okay, it's there, but eh.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get Manaru off the shelf. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
It'll get it off the shelf to try for me.
Sure.
Like try it out, see how it goes. But I don't think Manor is going to be a staple in any of my lists.
Yeah. Especially since if you
If I have
do
a
take the title, you're giving up the crew slot, which I think we talked about.
yeah, but you gain a droid, so it's not the worst. Some of the scum droids are pretty good.
Yeah, but to combo with her ability, she'd be really good with IGD, especially because you can
Oh,
pass
100%, yeah.
you could pass a calculate to her, she could calculate, and then she could pass off two calculates to something else that doesn't even have
Pass
to have
off
the
three
IGD crew.
calculates.
So,
Pass off three calculates because
oh yeah,
IGD
actually
D gives
double.
you double calculate.
But isn't A's ability each ship can only pass off one?
Pass off one. But
But
Manaru's
then
ability is
Manners
you
is
pass
all of
off
them.
all green tokens. Yeah.
So every turn she could be a overtune
So
modulators for another
it's
ship.
exactly. She's a free overtune modulator, which I would
If
fly at 5 points.
if you take the crew.
If you take the crew. So you can't have the
If you don't
yeah.
take the title.
But it's still
Yeah.
yeah. It's still something to play around with. It's definitely something I want to try.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Let me know how it goes. If she ends up winning everything, I would love to be wrong.
Yeah.
um, the other spot I'm a little iffy on is I think for both CADs, rather than ding the loadout to turn off a specific build, I would just take off the missile slot, which I know removes some of the variety of builds you can do on CAD, but since the problem in basically every case is the missile, just take the missile off. Because you
Yeah.
shut
I
down a
agree.
lot of creative, interesting builds with the loadout reduction just because of the missile slot instead of the other stuff that could be happening. So yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
but if you keep the missile slot, it opens
right.
up the ability to do electro chaff missiles and nothing else.
True. I yeah, but are you going to do that? I'm not going to do that.
Maybe.
Okay.
Electro chaff is fun. I love messing around with electro chaff.
It's not the first
You
like
lose
what?
everything. You can't take anything else, but
Yeah, which is okay, but I mean, I'm mostly coming at this as I really like using CAD as a crew carrier, and I think removing the missile slot would encourage more people to
yeah.
experiment with different builds.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think that adds a little bit more variety to what you can do with the ship than going really low loadout and keeping the slots.
yeah. I
But
do want to mess around with Cad Bane with Saint Xanadu and Lats for Scum is pretty funky.
does that still fit with
Take a
11?
focus
No,
boot. Yes, it does. 6 and
it
5.
does. Wow. Okay.
So pick on something that's your initiative or lower if you fire first.
Yep.
Give him your stress token from his ability, and when they shoot back, use Lats to give yourself evade mods.
Just use it for. Lats only works on stress, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Let's see it. I could see that being good.
That's a funky build, but it really makes CAD really hard to hit it for one round.
That's true.
And then even better if you're just cloaked and running away and they're stressed trying to chase you down. Just Lats to keep yourself to mod your 4 dice defense.
Your 4 dice defense, and then you can have Manaru there to throw 3 calculates to him.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Lots of things you can do. It's Scum not getting changed much is good. They're happy where they are.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
okay. So I do. This has come up. I did have a quick discussion with Duck with our Ducky, and we are a little disappointed. There's no changes to the M3As.
yeah, that I don't know if it'd be a slot change or what, but like the M3s are just bad and haven't been good for a really long time. And I don't really know.
Okay, so they've got loadout, which is well and good.
True,
4 points with loadouts is fine, but they don't have access to linked actions, which is what
right?
is really harming them.
Yeah, and the thing is, like we talked about before, the only meaningful offense they have that doesn't require them to take target locks, which they never want to do, is ion cannon. So if at least
Yeah.
some of them got a second cannon slot, which I think some do actually, that opens up the option to make them a three attack ship, which adds a lot. But also,
Mhm.
you really want to give them maneuver options. And there's no way to do that,
Yeah.
especially since none of them have the reasonable loadout or the reasonable, yeah, loadout for afterburners.
Yeah.
Um,
And XWA has come out and said you can't use the hard point
the heart,
upgrade to
yeah,
take a double cannon. Yeah.
that is
So
in
you
line
can't
with what
give.
AMG said too, because that's something that you get. Some of them
Yeah.
have a
I
stock
think it might
cannon
have been
slot.
AMG who said, yeah.
It
Yeah, I
was,
think it
yeah,
was AMG, not XWA. Yeah.
yeah. The
Thank you.
XW hasn't changed that. This is really the problem with any of these, where if they don't have any way to have meaningful, efficient offense, like good double mods and or three attack dice, um,
Hmm.
then you add a cannon slot. There are no good one slot cannons. They do now have access to auto blasters, which does bring them back a little bit. I would play with that, but that
Yeah.
only unlocks Sarasun, Quinjast, and none of the other ones. Um,
Yep. And so Quinjast I3, I'm never running auto
oh,
blasters on her because it's just
yeah,
really it's just difficult to get that fourth dice
yeah,
from the bullseye arc because you're just shooting 3 dice anyway, and autocannon does nothing if you're not in bullseye.
yeah. And Sarasu having
Besides the yeah, and
yes,
Sarasu is only 6,
yeah,
so
with having six loadout and Sarasu is, for lack of a better word, criminal. Like she's worthless at that point. Like there's no point to spend 4 points on
yeah,
a M3A for that. Yeah,
and
so
she's
you
only it's the defensive mod they're worried about.
right.
Like, okay, she gives every friendly ship at 0 to 1 reroll, but
But
she
then
just
she's just you paint a giant target on her back. There are plenty of things in the game that will comfortably remove
yeah.
her. It's not that big of a
Hmm.
defensive mod, and with Scum especially, you don't have a ton of efficiency. So if you're paying four
No,
points for that, then she's only giving that bonus to a couple ships, probably not ones that can keep up with her. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a weird ship to work
I think
on. I think that they
I
need
think
a
M3As
new
just
card.
need a rework.
Yeah, like
They just need they need the rework.
yeah, I think they're the single strongest. I don't think we've harped on this a lot, but I think they're the single strongest case for a first edition rework where they get like a configuration or something specific to the chassis.
Yeah.
It could
Besides the
be,
weapon hardpoint, yeah.
yeah,
So they did gain the heavy psych sick title that they could get because they were originally 2 hull 1 shield. Then you took the
in
title and you could gain a weapon hardpoint.
in first edition.
In first I think it was just the hull point.
Okay, yeah, and I wasn't there also one that gave them made them more defensive too, like you trade the shield for something.
Uh
There were two, right? Let's see.
yes, so the heavy psych interceptor is just baked into their ship now. So it
Right,
was increase your hull value by 1, and your upgrade gains one of the cannon, torpedo, or missile upgrades. So it's
right.
just baked into the chassis now.
Yeah, okay, so they were the dodgy one and then they became the tougher one. Let's see.
Uh, I don't know about that one, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and it's been so long, I don't really remember. They may have gotten a benefit from some of the other more
Yeah.
generic upgrades, but yeah, it's never been a good ship. Once upon a time, there was the four Seeks, two Fangs, ran into little squads of three that was fun, but
Hmm.
oh, and it was released with the Flechette and the Mangler cannon.
Yeah.
There were better single slot cannons because you can run them with HLC, but
Hmm.
and only the two, the expensive ones that have basically nothing. So you get Sarasu HLC in one
Yeah.
point, which is not going to do any good. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and they used to have come with stealth device in there. Yeah, increase your hull value by
Yeah.
one. Upgrade bar. Yeah, it's a ship that ever
Yeah.
since it was released, it's been tweaked and adjusted and never really pulled out. But I mean,
Brought up. Yeah.
it's also a chassis I'm kind of okay with forgetting because it's one of the most obscure ships that's ever been released in the game. It fills a need
Yeah.
in Scum, but like,
I'd like M3As to get worked on,
yeah, that's fair.
even if it is just a single linked action into focus barrel roll or evade barrel roll.
Yeah, maybe give them boost red focus. That would
I
do
just
it
give
for
them
me.
boost.
Just give them boost, but that's not a linked action. But
I,
yes,
yeah, but boost can do a lot more work than barrel rolls.
yeah, you could leave them as is and give them link barrel roll to boost. Like give them a double reposition, and they still are not going to
Double
break the game.
reposition. Yeah, and yeah, I think I like that.
Yeah, because that doesn't do anything for their action economy. Doesn't do well, kind of. It doesn't do anything for their offense. It just makes them like
Their blue
nimble.
maneuvers are horrible. So yeah,
Yeah, they're all banks. And then what? The two straight?
one bank. Yeah, one bank each way, two straight, three straight.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that
it's such a
blues
weird
not
ship.
exact. Blues aren't the greatest. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're cool. I like them. I've got a repainted one that I'm still tweaking, but
yeah.
um,
For a ship that has interceptor in the name, they're not good interceptors,
no, the
which is the
dials.
problem.
Yeah, the dial's awful, and the action bar sucks. Like they're really.
Yeah,
It's very strange that they were never looked at all in the rework from second edition to or first edition to second edition. I guess they were banking in the heavy,
yeah,
but barely.
yeah.
It feels like it was designed to roll out more of the cannon upgrades that would give them more utility, but that never happened.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah, even giving
because
them a
it's
unique
just
cannon that's six specific.
yeah. I'd be fine with that.
Um, yep,
Because yeah, for 4 points, which is what most M3As are, you can get ships that can reposition mod or double mod for 4 points,
yeah,
and they're universally tougher too.
yeah,
Because they're an interceptor. If they get looked at wrong by one range, one shot, or proton torpedoes, they're dead.
they do have a shield,
They do have
but
a shield, but again, if you get proton torpedoed and you just blank out, or you are in a like, and you took the lock to bank on an attack and don't have any mods, and you roll nothing but focuses and blanks against the
yeah,
proton torpedo, that's 4 points taken out by one ship.
yeah, and that's gonna happen. Like they die all the time. But the worst thing for
Yep.
me is that they do die easily. But the worst thing for me is they don't contribute anything. Like they're not
No.
great on objectives because the dial's not good. You can't really customize them because their customization options are so limited. Um,
Mm-hmm.
nothing to write home about. Yeah,
No. Yeah. They need. They. I think if anything from Scum needs to be worked, it's
it's the M3A.
the M3As.
Yeah, it was the Jump Master. There's been so much
Mm-hmm.
work done to the Jump Master. I feel kind of okay with where that is, with a couple notable exceptions. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, the M3A hasn't been touched in years.
No, it needs some loving.
Yeah, and there's some really cool pilot abilities in there that I'd love to see actually
Oh
see
yeah.
play in Scum. Yeah, some cool ones.
Sunny Bounder. I still fly Sunny. If I ever need a
I do
3 point
like
ship,
Sunny.
then I'm not right, and I don't need Coords Sunny.
Yeah, one ship that I've
I think I've only had her ability activate twice,
sure
but it's still Sunny.
I do want, and that's I always bring Sunny because I'm like one day the ability is going to trigger, and then it doesn't. But it's like you know what, it could, it could. Come on, Sunny.
Yeah.
The other one I do reach for once in a while is Gargor. One of the ones who does make sense with auto blasters. I ran Gargor with
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the weirder ones to actually be tempting to tractor your own ship. Like I would tractor him into a blocking spot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it. It is extremely late here. I should go ahead and sign off. But I really appreciate
Yeah.
the
No
time, of
problem.
course. And I look forward to talking again soon because there's still a lot to cover. And there's a lot of XWA announcements
Oh
out. and I am very excited to ramp my X-Wing content back up and up. I want to talk about it more.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cheers. Well, enjoy your
Cheers.
late
Thank you.
breakfast. We'll talk
I
again soon.
shall. All right.
Cheers.
See ya.